Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Nate. I also go by HockeyBoy8. Today we're going to be talking about the massive uptick in activity here in the Atlantic Basin. Before we get started, please be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. Also follow me on social media, link will be in the description down below. This is a current live stream at the moment. We are live streaming at the moment, and oh my god, I can hear myself in the background. That's kind of annoying, isn't it? But this is a daily tropical update that we have at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, 7 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. And so if you guys want to come out to the streams whenever I have them, feel free to do so. We'll be talking about what will be happening and what the latest information is on the tropics, as well as potentially in the future, maybe even winter weather and severe weather later on. But as of right now, we've got stuff to discuss. We have Tropical Storm Fred, which is right about here, going off into the Florida Panhandle. We have Tropical Depression Grace. It was a tropical storm. Now it's a tropical depression. It probably will intensify back into a tropical storm sometime within the next 5 days, maybe even a little bit sooner, maybe a little bit later. We'll have to see as this continues to move about. And then we also have this new invest up here, which is Invest 96L. And this recently has been just, it's popped out of nowhere, and now it is, it's got a 90% chance of formation over the next 2 days. They're even talking about potentially issuing advisories for that, so the island of Bermuda might actually be getting some tropical activity here soon. But let's talk about Fred here. Fred is the one that's going to be impacting the U.S. first, and so that's the one that we're probably going to want to get out of the way first. That's the one with the most questions as to how strong could it be, as to where it's going, what all is happening with it. And let's take a look at the satellite imagery. You can clearly see this thing has a counterclockwise spin with it. A lot of feeder bands that are coming off of the outside of the storm. That is a sign of a strengthening tropical system. It's not exactly by any stretch of the imagination the strongest thing we've ever seen, but we do indeed see some of that activity there. The anticyclonic flow, the ventilation from the system is pretty good. You can see some of the ridging that's forming off of this. And it's heading off into a decent environment to continue to strengthen further and further. The National Hurricane Center has actually designated this as a tropical storm yet again, and it's now a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm as well. 1,000 millibars moving north-northwest at 10 miles per hour. It's expected to head off into the general vicinity of Pensacola and even further east of that, which is the reason why on last night's live stream, I was warning the areas of Pensacola and east to really watch out, and the potential for some flooding in regards to either just some non-stop torrential downpours or even storm surge is possible with that, damaging winds that can knock off trees and power lines, as well as the potential for some tornado activity. There could be some activity with some tornadoes across the board there. So really something we got to watch out for as this continues to move on through. Let's take a look at the water vapor imagery here. This gives us a little bigger zoom of what all is happening. You can also see the clouds a bit more in depth compared to what the other one was, especially since that was a bit more of the true color satellite imagery, and because it kind of was turning night, it had to turn into a different style of satellite. So this is a little bit better for us to determine as to what is going to be happening. But you can see the wind shear here, how the storms are protruding to the north and east, maybe even east-northeast over there. You can see how there's not a whole lot of this movement with the clouds besides everything staying relatively compact within each other. You have these little snaky lines out here which indicate that there's a bit of dry air in the atmosphere, and tropical systems typically don't like that. So if you do see that anywhere in any portion of tropical activity, that could mean that this system could be encountering some inconveniences in the near future, and it could potentially limit intensification, or at least rapid intensification in the future. So we do have to watch out for that. But it's in a very good environment for the most part in regards to how the waters are above average up there, 31 degrees Celsius, which would be well above 90 degrees. So a lot of activity there, to say the least, with all of that happening there. And then, of course, you have this trough that's moving on through here in the United States, that's a lot of wind shear right there, and that's what's actually going to basically force this tropical system to continue to move north and even move off to the north and east. So there's going to be a lot of action here even after this moves off into the mainland of the United States. If we take a look at the latest satellite imagery here with the surface winds, the satellite imagery kind of tries to get these little passes and try to get all of the tropical system as much as possible within this little scan. If it misses some of it, it happens. It's not exactly the most, it's not the perfect thing that was ever created, but you know what? It gives us an idea sometimes. There's some other times where it even completely misses the tropical system. So we just get what we get. We don't throw a fit. And in this case, I'm not throwing a fit in this instance because this is showing some tropical storm force winds right within this wind pattern. If you guys look at the bottom portion of your screen, not actually sure if you guys can see that, but down there at the bottom, you have these different colors and the numbers associated with that. That is in knots. And if you add 5 miles per hour to it, that's in miles per hour until you get to 50 knots, which would be 60 miles per hour. And then you would add 10 from 55 and 60 onwards. So that's the one thing there. You can see that we do have a little bit of this brown area right about there. My Epic Pen is kind of refusing to function at the moment. So I might have to try and configure this a little bit better. There you go. So right about there, that brown area, that is where some of the 40 mile per hour winds is at. That was about 12 hours ago, so that was really interesting there. And so satellite says that there's some pretty interesting activity with this, and aircraft reconnaissance even says that as well. If we go over here to see what Fred is going about, you can see here's the path that they're taking. They launched over here from Biloxi, Mississippi, and you can't exactly see the rest of the image there. So let's see if I can refresh this. It's just not going to be helpful. Yeah, there you go. So the image just kind of decided to not exist anymore, so that's fun. But they're kind of going through the system at the moment, and just by looking at the live data that they're sending us, the big thing that we're going to want to watch out for is this box up here to the top right. This tells us the plot of what's happening at the surface. The blue line is the wind. The red dots along the blue line is contamination, so it's not exactly accurate data. It's as the name implies, contamination, so it impacts the actual data in many sorts of different ways. And so really interesting to see with that. This little pink line that goes up and down, that's the rain rate. Rain rate can also attribute to contamination as well. So if you have a lot of rain rate within a specific area, that could lead to not exactly the most accurate readings. But the interesting thing here is that the hurricane hunters, when they were going into Fred, consistently found winds in upwards of 35 knots, which is 40 miles per hour, and even some amounts that got up to about 37 to 38 knots, which would be about 42 to 43 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit higher, up to 45 miles per hour in some areas, which is the reason why the National Hurricane Center keeps it as a 45 mile per hour tropical storm. Now, if we take a look at the cone of uncertainty here, you can clearly see that this thing is expected to move north, according to the professional people from the National Hurricane Center. The areas with this blue little highlighter right about here, that is a tropical storm warning, and then right next to it on the left-hand side, you can see the yellow highlighter. That is a tropical storm watch. And so if we actually go over to Radar Omega here, a good tool that I use to help myself with any sort of activity that I want to see. It's $9 on phone for any of you who want that. This actually helps me out and see where the warnings and stuff like that are at. So Pensacola in itself, they're in a tropical storm watch. That's what this this little pink salmon-ish polygon that's what that represents. But then these yellow areas right here, this is all a tropical storm warning. So this includes areas near Destin, all the way through to Panama City, and then Apalachicola, that general vicinity, also has a storm surge warning. We'll talk about the storm surge there in a bit, but Apalachicola all the way down through to St. Mark's, and even further closer towards Cedar Key. You guys also need to watch out, because even though you guys are not going to be impacted directly by the center of this tropical system, which will end up be somewhere around Destin and Panama City, you guys could potentially be getting the worst of the impacts from this tropical system. So really something that we got to watch out for as this continues to move about. Let's go back here, and you can see the rainfall rate expected from this tropical system. You can see all of the oranges all the way out through here. That is 6 to 10 inches of rainfall expected, and you can see how that's right around from Panama City all the way over to Apalachicola, and that's really something that we got to watch out for. High rainfall rates could lead to localized flooding, and flooding is a very overlooked condition with weather, and so you really got to watch out for that as this continues to progress. But high rainfall rates along the coast, and then as this continues to move over land, it starts to impact the Appalachians, and even some areas here along the border of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. You guys could even be seeing rainfall rates from 4 to 6 inches, maybe even 6 to 10 inches in some spots. That's a lot of rain, could potentially create some flash flooding characteristics, so really something to watch out for. Here's the storm surge that I was talking about, and there's the reason why there's a storm surge warning in effect from Indian Pass, which is Apalachicola, all the way over to the Steinhatchee River area. 3 to 5 feet of storm surge is expected, and that is not good. As you know, some areas here really do not need that storm surge. As a matter of fact, I believe I actually have an interactive map here that can show us the storm surge inundation, and I do. And so this could actually show you all where storm surge will actually impact areas with populace. Some of these gray areas here, that's the intertidal zone, so not really occupied by populace whatsoever. But some of these areas here in this yellow, in this blue, they could potentially be seeing some storm surge in some of these areas. And, a lot of these people who are going to be along the coast, particularly for vacation and stuff like that, really need to watch out as this gets closer and closer. And riptides are going to be a very high threat here. So I would just recommend, unless if you are in a boat of some sort, which even then, you probably shouldn't be out in a boat during all of this with how high the waves are going to be and how strong the winds most likely will be as this gets closer and closer to the coast. I would recommend just staying away from the coast as much as possible. Seek some form of higher ground as this continues to move on through. So there's St. Mark's. You can see how you can even see some storm surging upwards of 3 feet over there, even further down south towards the Alligator Harbor vicinities into Panacea, the Oyster Bay area, St. James Island. A lot of activity expected over there. So really something that we got to watch out for. And as this gets closer and closer towards Monday evening, that's when stuff will begin to really ramp up. So if we go back here to the track, it's expected to still be off the coast by Monday afternoon, but sometime between Monday afternoon and Tuesday evening, I would say probably at around 8 Eastern, 7 Central, that's when you guys could potentially see your landfall of Tropical Storm Fred. So from now until then, people along the coast here need to be on high alert for anything in regards to storm surge, the tornado threat that most likely is going to be a factor over there. Any sort of flooding, anything else, really just got to watch out for it. All right, that's just plain and simple right there. Now, a lot of people asked about Grace and what all is happening with Grace, and ask and you shall receive. We will go to the next tropical system here that has been giving a lot of people headaches for the most part. But here's Grace. And it's a tropical depression right now. It's according to the National Hurricane Center, they think that it is actually a 35 mile per hour storm with a minimum pressure of 1,011 millibars, and it's moving west at 15 miles per hour. So eventually it'll continue to move on through and, you know, get about towards Hispaniola. But with this satellite imagery here, you can clearly see the counterclockwise spin in the atmosphere with this thing. We haven't really been able, you know, prior to this live stream, find out where the center area of low pressure actually is, but it seems to be trying to get relatively organized before it makes land interaction. So that's the one thing there that is the positive from this tropical system, is that it is really trying to get organized here in the latter stages of the evening. A lot of convection starting to blow up here on the northwestern side of the storm, and so it's just all sorts of activity here for the most part. Taking a look at the water vapor imagery from this system, you can see all this dark area back here. That's a lot of dry air, and you can see that dry air, you know, even without this the water vapor imagery, because you can see all these little lines here along the sides of the bands. That actually forms these little outflow boundaries, and you typically find those in severe weather when there is dry air. And with severe weather, you can have dry air over there. That helps create hail, that helps create some very strong damaging winds, but that's all straight line characteristics, not helping for tropical characteristics. And so if this tropical system can stay away from that dry air, then we can potentially talk about how this thing could intensify later on if it avoids most of this land interaction. So the big thing here is that this is Grace, here's Puerto Rico, here's Haiti and the Dominican Republic, which Haiti is absolutely getting the short end of the straw here, especially with the high-end magnitude 7 earthquake that they had, demolishing most of the infrastructure over there. They're expecting to get a lot of rain here from this tropical system, and localized flooding, flash flooding is going to be a very big concern for these areas of basically low infrastructure. That's just the big thing there to say. Haiti is going to be getting impact, and it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate to say. Taking a look at the radar imagery here, this could try and help us find where the center area of low pressure is, and it would be right about here. You can see how everything is kind of just spun and spun and spun, with some thunderstorms here that are going up north. So right about within here somewhere. Let's see if I can change my my marker here. Right about there, as it's moved over from west, or from east to west, there is where the center area of low pressure is. So as this thing continues to move towards the west or even northwest, we're really going to have to watch out for how this is going to progress. So just a cool thing there that we can see from the radar imagery. Here's the cone of uncertainty for Grace from the National Hurricane Center. A bunch of tropical storm watches that have been issued for Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It's not expected, you know, to be anything big by the time it gets over there. It's going to be a very heavy rainmaker, though, and that is, as I said, the big issue for those areas in Hispaniola. Even afterwards, it'll continue to be a tropical depression as it moves on through into Cuba. The only issue here in regards to this tropical system is that you guys notice how they actually anticipate this to head into the Gulf of Mexico by Thursday and Friday as a tropical storm. But the same thing that happened to Fred most likely could occur here with Grace. And the reason being is because if we go over to Google Maps, which I'll pull up here in a second, in Google Maps, you'll be able to see the actual, you'll be able to see the topography of Hispaniola over here. So we'll pull up the terrain, and you can see there is a lot of these little bumps right within the center or even southern portions of the islands here. And that indicates some very tall mountains that could be interacting with these tropical systems. And what those mountains do is it basically goes right up into the center area, or even just any sort of area of the tropical system, and displaces those thunderstorms, kind of similar to how wind shear works, and even breaks it up even further. So if it's not along within its little bubble of the tropical system, if any sort of outside factor impacts the system that isn't favorable, then it'll just completely rip itself apart. And that's exactly what it could potentially do as it heads towards the Dominican Republic and Haiti. But what history has told us, and what the analogs have told us, even what Fred has told us, is that if that happens, these thunderstorms could stay here within this general vicinity for an extended period of time. And that, as I said, that's the reason why I'm very concerned for the flood risk here of the Hispaniola Island of Dominican Republic and Haiti here. I mean, Haiti has just been getting the short end of the straw for the most part over the past couple of weeks, and it's just very unfortunate to see. And so we're really praying out for most of the people there in Haiti. But then even as it continues to move over into Cuba, you still have some of that land interaction, some of the mountains that are on the southern end of the island there. But then once it gets over and towards the mainland Cuba, that's when stuff really flattens out, and you can start talking about how the tropical system could potentially reform somewhere over water, because it wants to form over water. That is where it will be able to thrive further. And so whether it reforms to the south, whether it reforms to the north, that's the big question here. And wherever that reforms, that could determine as to where this thing could move on forward. If it reforms down to the south, we can start talking about the Yucatan Peninsula even further off towards Texas. If it moves off further north, we could start talking about the southern portions of Florida and even the Keys, and maybe even areas further off anywhere around within here as to where this tropical system could go. So that's the reason why we have a lot of uncertainty with this tropical system after this thing moves through Hispaniola. And the thing of it is, with this tropical system too, is if we go over towards a model here, this is the HWRF model, which takes into account of rapid intensification. What rapid intensification, for any of you who are new, is it basically is when a tropical system intensifies or gets stronger in a very quick, short period of time. Goes from it increases in wind speeds of 60 miles per hour within 24 hours or even 18 hours. That's how rapid intensification works. And that's how you can get very strong tropical systems. That's what made last year so volatile, is because we had a lot of those storms in the Gulf of Mexico that did that. And it caused a lot of impacts for areas along the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, specifically in areas of Louisiana. So if we take a look at this HWRF model, we'll take a look at the parent first, because this kind of zooms out a bit more on the tropical system. And watch what this does. It moves through Hispaniola, and it gets a bit weaker, of course. That's the land interaction that we're talking about. But then it ends up forming on the northern end of Cuba, and as this continues to progress further and further towards the Gulf of Mexico, it starts to become a lower pressured storm, a lot more well organized, and then it even starts to intensify, I dare say, rather rapidly. Within the span of 24 hours, it goes from a 1,000 millibar low pressure storm to a 963 low pressure storm. That's immediately hurricane strength, and then that even eventually heads off into the central areas of the Gulf of Mexico. And you can even see as this barrels closer and closer, it's even has Texas and Louisiana within the crosshairs of this. So really something we got to watch out for as to how this propagates. I'm more or less convinced that areas here within the Big Bend of Florida, I think you guys will be spared from grace here. I think areas from Jacksonville, the East Coast, I should say, all the way down to probably, I'd say, Melbourne. I think you guys actually are in the clear from grace itself. You guys might get a little bit of activity from 96L. We'll have to see within some of the model runs here. But I think those areas are in the clear from grace. I think these areas are in the clear from grace. But some of these other areas here from Pensacola, Panama City Beach, all the way further west down towards Corpus Christi, Houston, Lake Charles, New Orleans. You guys really need to watch out for the system as this progresses, because by the end of this week, we will have our answer as to where this tropical system is going to go and how strong it is, 100%. All right, so just stay tuned with this channel as much as possible. I'm going to be trying to upload videos for you all. I'm going to be trying to keep doing these tropical updates here at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time as frequently as possible. I won't be able to do it tomorrow. I won't be able to do it on Tuesday because I actually have to go to this Zoom call for my other job, for my coaching job for ice hockey, because I am a head coach for ice hockey. But I'm going to be uploading videos for you all. I'll upload a video for you all tomorrow so I can keep you guys up to date with all of that. I'll upload a video on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I'll be able to get you guys your tropical update for you all, and that's when we can start talking about intensities with this system. So now let's take a look at the final piece of resistance here, this Invest 96L that just recently got designated. We'll actually go back to the National Hurricane Center here and show you all. This is where it is, has a 90% chance of formation over the next 45 days. And even then, this system could potentially even be a tropical depression or storm within the next 24 hours. That's how high of a confidence they have of this tropical system. And so very much so something that we have to watch out for. Taking a look at the satellite imagery, you can clearly see the spin with this very well-organized spin with a very well-organized center area of low pressure. I would not be surprised if they actually started issuing advisories on this at 11 o'clock. And, you know, just a lot of activity as this continues to propagate south. You can see here's Bermuda right to the west of this. And you know, it's just really interesting to see how this continues to try and, you know, propagate itself, conduct itself with all sorts of activity. So really something interesting to say the least. All right, last thing here before we start heading into the questions, Q&A and stuff like that. I'm going to be taking a look at the spaghetti models here. And for the most part, this is going to give us an idea as to the intensities of these tropical systems and where they will be going. And so each little line is kind of like an opinion of a model run. And so there's a bunch of different opinions as to where these tropical systems could go. And of course, the more areas that have a more condensed area, then that's a higher likelihood as to where the center of the tropical system could go according to the model run. So we'll take a look at Fred first. Fred is self-explanatory. It's going to be heading off to the north. It's going to be heading off in between Pensacola and Panama City Beach areas. To the east of Pensacola and down towards the Big Bend, really need to watch out, as I mentioned before. High storm surge, tornado threat, rainfall, even, you know, damaging winds that could knock over trees and power lines. Guys really need to watch out for that for the most part. It's even expected to continue to move on further and further into the Appalachians, even off towards the Great Lakes as a possibility, but it'll be most likely a remnant low with some form of cold front that'll be moving on through, creating some severe weather risk for you all there within the, well, around that time period. So, excuse me, that's the good news with all of that. Most of the models say that this will stay at around 1,000 millibars, maybe even a little bit less than that. Right now it's 1,000 millibars, and I actually think it probably will stay a little bit lower than that. It will break into the... is that fireworks outside? These people need to chill. These people need to chill. That's the reason why there's a lot of booming in the background. But... no, these areas right within here could just need to watch out for severe weather risk, and areas along the coast, I think you guys will probably get a high-end tropical storm over there, probably 60 miles per hour or even 70 miles per hour is possible for you all. I don't think it'll be a hurricane. I don't think it'll be able to rapidly intensify quickly enough if it does try to do that, and it's not organized enough to do so anyways, especially with the amount of dry air that's on the western side. So I think you guys are in the clear for that. If we take a look at Grace here, according to the GFS, nothing is expected to do. It's not expected to do a whole lot after it goes through Hispaniola. But the interesting thing is that earlier today, we actually had a couple of these model runs that's agreed with the HWRF model that said that this thing could potentially become a hurricane, maybe even a major hurricane in some spots, and even threaten places like Brownsville, Texas, towards the border of Texas and Mexico. So really something of interest to say there. A lot of these models also said that the furthest east it'll make landfall is somewhere near Intracoastal City, Louisiana. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well. That's the reason why I said Big Bend area of Florida, as well as areas from Jacksonville down to Melbourne. I think you guys will be in the clear from Grace itself. From Fred, not so much. I think you guys could potentially get some other activity from that. Take a look at Fred from a Euro perspective, and the Euro actually says that this could potentially even move a bit further towards the east, and even run over my house somewhere in southern Pennsylvania. So that's going to be fun to look at and track. Probably won't live stream that, but it'll be relatively interesting there. And then here's the Euro model. The Euro model is now being the more aggressive one compared to the GFS earlier, because this thing, apparently, according to the Euro, with all these different opinions, they say it will continue to survive after it hits Hispaniola, and once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, you have a couple runs that even say it'll become a hurricane and eventually head off towards the general vicinity of Texas and Louisiana, and even a couple model runs that are saying that it will go make landfall as far east as well, it'll make a first landfall as far east as Miami, and then its second landfall will be somewhere near Pensacola. But a lot of these areas here in the Gulf of Mexico, once it passes the peninsula of Florida, they think as east as Mobile, Alabama, even to New Orleans as possible. So that's the reason why I say guys really need to watch out for that as this continues to get closer and closer towards the Gulf of Mexico. And then finally here, we'll talk about Invest 96L. And according to the GFS, that actually thinks that this will stay relatively far out to sea. You can see how most of these little lines stay off of the coast of the eastern U.S. So that is the good news there for you all, that you at least won't have 3 tropical systems impacting the U.S. It'll just be 2, most likely. Although Grace, as I said, Grace is very unpredictable at this time. It's either it will hit the U.S. or it'll hit Mexico. But that's the one thing there. Now, if we take a look at the just the general guidance here from most of these models, the interesting thing that I found from here is that most of these models take this tropical system, it hits the southern part of Hispaniola, and then it ends up going towards the Yucatan Peninsula, which is really interesting, because if it does that, then areas here from the west coast of Florida all the way over to New Orleans would be in the clear, and we'd have to just talk about areas of Intracoastal City all the way over to Houston, Corpus Christi down to Brownsville as the main impact area. And then even, you know, if we want to keep talking about areas in Mexico, areas in the Bay of Campeche could potentially be impacted. So that's the interesting thing here. The models have been all over the place in regards to where this thing could go, but the major thing here is that it is heading to the north and west, and it is heading off into the general vicinity of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's the reason why I'm going to continue to reiterate it as much as possible. Areas here along the coast of the Gulf of Mexico need to be on high alert for the most part for the next week and a half. All right, I think I will be able to open this up for questions for you all. I'm also going to be taking a look here at some of the aircraft reconnaissance data, see what the latest data is from them, as more fireworks continue to fire off in the background. So I'll let people continue to answer questions in the chat if you feel if you want to do so. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video. Liking the video actually helps me get this out to more people on YouTube. So it's just basically one way to spread the word. Subscribe if you're new, because I do analysis like this. I try to do it as much as possible. Jeez, that firework. It's right next to us. It's like literally right next to us. It's just down the street. That's crazy. Now, the interesting thing here from the aircraft reconnaissance data the latest data that we just got as of 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time is that they just went through a band of convection and found winds above 45 knots, which would be about 50 miles per hour. So that would tell me that Fred actually is continuing to intensify and might be stronger than 45 miles per hour. And that's a big thing there, too. That's a very big thing. Let's see what else we can find here. They did have a couple drop-ons, stuff like that. The aircraft reconnaissance mission that went through Grace is now finished. I don't know where they are going now, whether they're heading back to Florida or not, but that just got finished. They did find some wind speeds in upwards of 45 knots, but there are some areas that was suspect, so they're keeping it as a tropical depression as of right now. I think it could be a tropical storm, like a borderline tropical depression or storm, as this continues to move on through. But yeah, this is a very, very interesting data that we got from the reconnaissance aircraft. Do I think Lafayette, Louisiana will see anything out of this? From Fred, no. I think you guys will be in the clear from this for you all. And then the areas from Grace, do I think Lafayette could be impacted from Grace? That one's a little bit harder to answer because it would really have to depend upon where this thing reforms when it's near Haiti and Cuba as it continues to move on through. The 48 knot winds are rain contaminated. I kind of figured that much. I'd assume that would be because it's a wind gust more than anything, but yeah. Do I think strong tornadoes may be possible for Florida from this tropical storm? I don't think so. I mean, like, not super strong tornadoes, honestly. I think there is the possibility for tornadoes. Don't get me wrong. There's even a 2% chance for tornadoes today and even tomorrow. And it could even be a 5% chance for tomorrow as well. I think that'll actually be upgraded to a slight risk for those areas. But I don't think you guys could see some like strong tornadoes. I think you guys should be fine. How long should New Yorkers be watchful for this? I think New Yorkers, as of right now, is going to be in the clear. I think you guys... I think you guys should start watching when this thing eventually... when Fred eventually curls up towards you all at about... like, right around Thursday into Friday. I think that's when you guys should watch out for the potential for severe weather with this system. But I think you guys are going to be fine for the most part with that. Is Fred going to affect Columbus, Ohio? I do believe that Fred could potentially impact it, not as strongly as areas east of the center area of low pressure for Fred. I think areas near the Appalachians could be getting a lot more activity from Fred than people west of it. But I do think Columbus could see some remnants of Fred near your general vicinity. If the sustained winds is 50 miles per hour, how strong will the wind gust be for Fred? Probably about 60 to 65 miles per hour. If you guys are on Twitch, by the way, thank you guys so much for tuning in here. I'm actually multi-streaming at the moment. So I've got YouTube. I'm streaming to YouTube here live. And then I'm also streaming to Twitch as well. That's going to be the new thing from now on, to where I'm going to be trying to stream to as many people as possible, trying to get the word out as much as possible. We're only 8 subscribers away from 12,900 subscribers, by the way. I know my channel's been in a little bit of a slump as of late, but I appreciate what you guys have been doing for me. So thank you so much. All right, let's see what the recon as of late for Fred is. Yeah, high rain rates here from this convective band that it's moving through in Fred, but it's not exactly, I don't know, that might be a wind gust over there. Might be a wind gust for you all. Xbox and Oculus Helper, what's up? Welcome to the live stream. Will Madison, Georgia receive any bad weather from Fred? We are right outside the cone. I think you guys could potentially get some damaging winds, and there will be a small tornado threat. I don't think it'll be like a huge tornado threat, of course, but I think you guys could potentially get some widespread severe weather from this. Will Daytona Beach get some strong winds? I think you guys could definitely see some activity. But I don't think it'll be like the main part of activity. I think you guys are going to be seeing the outer bands of Fred more than anything. Grace, I think you guys will be completely clear from. Let us see. Yeah, Haiti is getting absolutely... It's not the best thing in the world for Haiti at the moment. New wave off of Africa has a little bit of spin onto it. Yes, it does, but it also has a lot of dry air around it too, so it won't be able to form anytime soon. Is Mexico going to get hit bad? I don't think Mexico is going to be hit significantly from Fred. Grace, however, Grace is going to be really interesting. As I said, next couple of days is going to be really interesting to watch. Depending upon how this progresses, we could either see it head off a bit closer towards Louisiana, Texas, or Mexico. I think that's the way that Grace is probably going to eventually head on in. And I even said prior to the stream, in the comments here in the chat with you all, I said that this thing is probably going to be the next hurricane, and if it does make impact with the US, probably will be the first hurricane to make landfall this season, because Elsa didn't. Elsa was a tropical storm. It intensified into a hurricane, but then it died again. Did that like twice. Yeah, my short video was great. How is Linda doing in the Pacific? Good question. Linda actually is weakening more and more. But it's a gradual weakening. And so it's still a hurricane. It's not a major hurricane anymore. It once was. We'll see if we can get a satellite imagery here for you. And we can. Let's take a look at the visible high resolution, if we can. Yes, we can. Here we go. It'll take a little bit to load, but there you go. Look at this thing. That is a hurricane and a half. That's what you do not want to see in the Gulf of Mexico, I'll tell you that. But, I mean, just look at this. This thing is a hurricane and a half that's really trying to stay alive at this point. It's moving down to the west-southwest. So it's trying to steer away from the colder waters. Doesn't have a lot of dry air around it. This thing is just in perfect tip-top shape for the most part. But as I said, it'll be away from land, so it won't be impacting a whole lot of places. For thus, it'll be west of the center of Fred. What can we expect tomorrow in terms of wind and rain? Good question, good question. Very good question. So depending upon where you are, you guys could see as low as an inch of rain, which of course, inch of rain is an inch of rain, but you could also see as high as 6 to 10 inches of rain, maybe even higher in localized amounts, because there could be some instances where we can have just one band of rain that stays over one area and exceed the expected totals of rain across the board. So really something that we got to watch out for, especially areas here at Mexico City Beach all the way over, as well as Panama City Beach into Apalachicola. You guys really need to watch out for the heavier amounts of rain, and then the storm surge, especially if you're from Indian Pass over to the Steinhatchee River areas. You guys need to I would recommend stay away from the coast if you can, because what is expected here is 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, and that is not good whatsoever. Anywhere here within the Big Bend, I'll say, needs to stay away from the coast. Highly recommend that. Can 96L become Henry? I actually think it could be Henry, and it might even be Henry now. So it's definitely got that look to it that it could be a tropical system within the next 24 hours. I would have to say. But that's what's anticipated here so far. I think you guys could, some localized areas could see above 10 inches of rain. I think that's actually a high possibility here for areas near Fred. But, yep. Let us see. Chances of power outages in Chattanooga? Not exactly the highest thing in the world, honestly. I think you guys should be, I think you guys should be fine. Do you agree with scientists that jet streams have already slowed down? For this time of year, I'd say so. Jet streams intensify and then slow down in different periods of time throughout the year, so it's kind of like different phases, if you will. Bunch of different phases. All right, let's we'll keep this up for the most part, and we'll refresh to see if there's any new data here from the Hurricane Hunters, and there isn't. So let's see if I can do this here for you all. Let's see if I can pull up Google Earth, and will my computer crash? I don't know. I don't know. Mission 4 into Grace? What? Oh, they're sending out a new mission here. Oh yeah, they're sending a new mission into Grace. So that'll get there eventually. I probably won't be live streaming by the time it gets to Grace, but it is a new mission that's heading out over there. And you can see the old mission here as it went through Grace. Carly with the $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Says thank you for all you do. No, thank you guys for coming out to the live stream. I wouldn't be able to do this without you all. And so... just thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. I really do. Let's see if I can get to Fred here. Yeah, here's Fred. And the other thing that I have here is a cool thing. Let's see. Can I do... Goes east. Mesoscale 1... And we're gonna do clean long wave black and white. And we're gonna hope that this works. Not sure if it will. That's not it. We're gonna have to go to mesoscale 2 then. Which I think is probably going to be the case. How am I doing? I'm doing great, Andrew. How about yourself? How about yourself? I'm enjoying myself with this analysis here. So that's not helpful. So 2 of the mesoscales are not Fred here. Not Fred. You're chasing Grace if it stays consistent? I think you should be. I think you should. Because it's definitely doing a lot. Miss Southern Belle with the $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate that. I really do. Yeah, all the donations goes back into either the stream or whatever I do with weather. So I really do appreciate you guys and all the support. Yeah, this thing is definitely loving me right now. There you go. Here's the tropical system. Told you I could do it. I told you I could do it. Guys had to just give me a little bit of time, but look at that. You can see the track of the Hurricane Hunter as it moves on through, and you can see the satellite imagery as well as all sorts of buoys and stuff like that. Look at that. But look at this. You can see all the wind barbs here and the wind in its path. So wherever the flag comes out from, that's the direction it's heading towards. So you can see the winds are moving from the south here for the most part. From the south, now moving from the south and east. More easterly component here. And you can even see in some instances, here's the center area of low pressure. You know, of course we can't get a loop here, but you can see the swirl of the system and how it continues to progress. And they actually found that right about there is the center area of low pressure. Let's see if we can find some stuff as to what they're finding at the surface with this new data that they're getting. So 39 miles per hour at the surface. This one would be contamination 42 miles per hour. 41, 42, 42, 41, 42. Yeah, they're finding a lot of tropical storm force winds here within this outer feeder band. Which is about right, honestly. That's about right as to what this thing is producing. Yeah, there's your 50 mile per hour winds. 51 is contaminated. 54, not as much. 55, and then it starts to bring back the contamination again. So, very strong damaging winds here within this this other feeder band that's right on the outside of the center area of low pressure. But you can see here's one feeder band right here. Here's the second one. You can see how this all continues to progress closer and closer towards the center area of low pressure. And actually, I'm going to go over to the satellite imagery for this. And we're going to change this to, the infrared satellite. This will basically tell us the cloud tops and how cold they are. How's my vacation? It was pretty good, honestly. Went to New England and chilled out over there for a little bit. It was pretty nice. It was pretty nice. There you go. Okay, so we got the satellite imagery up and running, and you can see very strong showers and thunderstorms that it actually went through right there. Look at that. Big time thunderstorms in that dark red and even black in some areas. And then you have that outer feeder band right there that I was talking about. That is associated with the tropical system. And there's even some instances of all these thunderstorms that are getting wrapped up into the center area of low pressure. And so that could lead to further intensification with this tropical system as it gets closer and closer towards the panhandle of Florida. So that's the big thing there that we have to watch out for. And I would say this thing is definitely strengthening. I mean, we're watching it right before our very eyes. I would say that is the case. You can also see the general swirl of the lower cloud level right there. You can see how these other clouds are kind of just slowly moving south and they slowly propagate eastward. And so big thing right there too. Is southwestern Florida going to get the bottom of that right convection? Yeah, they most likely are. Areas near Tampa into Fort Wayne. Areas down there in that general vicinity into Fort Myers, I should say. Naples. Not Fort Wayne. I was thinking of Indiana for whatever reason. Yeah, Fort Myers. You guys could get a whole lot of that action. And let's actually see. Let's see the radar of that general area. We're gonna go to KMBX is North Dakota. I need to find Florida here. Can I find Florida? Will strengthening impact the path? No, not really. The National Weather Service is very inappropriate, as you guys can see. So just ignore the obscene shape here of the system. Let's see if I can find a radar here, if it can load. Keyword if. And it doesn't seem to be the case. It looks like the radar might actually be down. So that's unfortunate. Tampa's radar is down. Let's see if we can find stuff from Key West. There we go. Here's the outer feeder bands there. So there's your activity that we were talking about heading off into Naples. And you can see how this this propagates north, even to a northeasterly component. But yeah, we got a lot of special marine warnings here. That's the orange boxes here. And water spouts are possible, including wind gusts in excess of 50 knots. So a lot of activity is expected. But yeah, that's the live radar there. You can see even some of the spotters here that are looking at these storms too. Let's see. Let's go back to the reconnaissance, see anything updated. Yeah, there's the new mission. There's the new mission. It still seems to be heading through Fred. Nothing significant as of late, so I guess we'll be able to watch its pass on the northeastern side, and the southwestern side here, and then we'll probably call it an evening. The one thing that I do want to do here is I want to take a look at the GFS. We're going to go to Western Atlantic here. Go on a cookie. I actually had a cookie earlier on today, so I'll be fine. I think. I think I'll be fine. So we'll take a look at the GFS and how it progresses with this model run. Here's Invest 96L as it gets closer and closer towards Bermuda. And that's the impact from Fred right there, a 995 millibar storm from the GFS. So really interesting to say the least from that. But then according to the GFS, Grace also isn't, it's really impacted by the system, and it kind of just not exactly all to existence. So, this general consensus from the GFS really likes it to not form here, but I'd have to disagree here for multiple reasons. Number one, most models seem to disagree, and number two, if it can actually if it can reform somewhere on the northern side or the southern side of Cuba, then I think it'll be able to continue to re-strengthen further. But yeah, here's a model that disagrees with the GFS. Here's the Euro model, and you can see it ends up becoming a general tropical system as it gets towards the mid part of Thursday into Thursday morning, as it heads off into the Gulf of Mexico. And look at that, as it gets closer and closer towards Texas, it even elongates a little bit. You have a lot of strong shear here, with this bit of a troughing action here, but that's the tropical system for you as it heads closer and closer towards Texas. It ends up becoming a pretty decent tropical system according to this model. We're 6 subscribers away from 12,900. Slowly climbing up there. But I really do appreciate everyone who's came out, even supported the channel. I really do appreciate it. I want to see if there is a latest ASCAT. Doesn't seem like there is. I think the satellite imagery might be a little bit delayed for quite some time. It's not that big of a deal as of right now, but I still think it's kind of interesting. Weather at a glance, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Let's put it back on Linda here real quickly. I mean, look at this. Look at this thing. Sheesh. It's crazy. I will say for the people who are in the chat right now, talking about the future of the channel, where this is going to be going, I will be live streaming hurricane landfalls, all right? If there is a hurricane that is expected to make landfall, expect me to cover it live, all right? And then if there is any sort of severe weather events that I deem to be potentially impactful on a widespread scale, or even have a widespread tornado threat, I will be live streaming that as well. That's typically what I do. So just keep that in mind as this continues to move on through. On YouTube, I know there's a lot of people on Twitch, or a couple people on Twitch here. I actually don't know how many people are watching on Twitch right now, but you know, that's the one thing right there. On YouTube, which is Nate Snyder on YouTube, I will be uploading videos for tomorrow and on Tuesday, and I will not be live streaming tomorrow or Tuesday because I have this this Zoom call for my other job that I have outside of YouTube. So just keep that in mind for everyone who's out there. That, yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit inactive on the streaming department, but I'll still be getting you guys your information as much as possible. When will we know the Grace will be doing on track and intensity? Probably in a couple of days. Probably in a couple of days. Yeah, I'm trying to expand my channel a bit further. So I'm multi-streaming. I'm going to be streaming. I don't see anything wrong with streaming on Twitch and YouTube. And there are some people that watch on Twitch as well. So I try to do that. Of course, you know, I have a bigger following on YouTube, but not that big of a deal, honestly. Speaking of Twitch, I'm curious, how many Thank you for the subscription. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, we're 4 subscribers away. Thank you guys so much. We're also 4 followers away on Twitch too. So if you guys haven't already, follow me on Twitch. That would be greatly appreciated as well. I'll put the link to my Twitch channel in the chat here. There you go. Follow me on Twitch. That would be greatly appreciated. Can you imagine if I get 1,000 followers on Twitch too? That would be great. Be posting all sorts of content around the board, trying to spread as much information as possible. Because that's the thing there. That's the main thing. It's just spreading as much information. Seems like the Cayman Islands should prepare. We have some of the deepest and warmest waters in the Caribbean. Yeah, I agree. I think you guys should definitely prepare. You know, there's so many things that go into forecasting this, but you know, even if the Cayman Islands, you know, even as far as they are off of the main island of Cuba, you know, it's not too far off, but it is still a little bit of ways away. Yeah, I still think they could be impacted by the outer bands of this, and if this actually ends up reforming on the southern side, like some of the models have actually said, then I definitely think the Cayman Islands could be impacted by this. I've been over on the Cayman Islands a couple of times too. It's a really pretty place. Really pretty place. Yeah, I can see already that there's a couple people from Twitch on there as well, on the chat as well. That's what multi-streaming does for me too. I can actually make it so that I can see chat for both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, and it's pretty cool. Ready for some outer bands chasing? Of course, of course. How do I add the ship buoy thing to Google Earth? It's a place file on there. I can send it to you if you DM me. But yeah, it's a KML file over there. And it has winds, it has waves, dew points, water temperatures, atmospheric pressure. Of course, it's not in millibars, but it's there. It's there. It's pretty cool, too. Let's refresh this. Let's see if they've updated the track here. And doesn't seem to be anything different. Let's take a look at this drop sond here, though, in the northeastern quadrant. 39 mile per hour winds to the surface, according to this. Might be a wind gust, but not that big of a deal, too. Oh, geez. At the mid-levels, it's got some pretty strong winds as well. It doesn't seem to be all too dry, of course. Weren't really expecting all of that. The big thing that we're going to be watching out for, though, in the southwestern portion of the storm, southwestern quadrant, that's going to be the main area to watch out for. Only places I've been to outside the U.S. is Cozumel and Cancun back in 2005, a month before Katrina. I've been to Cozumel, too. I haven't been to Cancun, though. Definitely in areas that I want to watch out for. Don't know how to use these radars. That's why I'm here. Well, I try to get as much information out for you all as possible, so I appreciate it. Geez, stop. Make it stop. Let us see. So yeah, now we're basically waiting for the hurricane hunters to make the pass back into the center area of low pressure. As I said, the big few factors here that I want to mention from Grace is that, oh, this is the 18Z. 18Z GFS just came out. Oh boy, here we go. All right, new information that we just got out from the GFS. I should have anticipated that, actually, because I believe the GFS... Is it running right now? If it is, there's 18Z. Yeah, 18Z is complete. And so they just had the spaghetti models with that complete as well. So let's go back to the spaghetti models with the GFS. And this is the latest information from the 18Z run from Grace. We have a couple members that actually take this as a hurricane, specifically as this passes into the Bay of Campeche. But it does seem to be taking a much more southern approach. It'll most likely be reforming on the southern end of Cuba after it passes through the Hispaniola vicinity. And it'll be pretty interesting to see. Now, the good news here is that most of the members actually say that this will stay well south of Texas, but there's a couple members here, including one, that say that it could potentially be impacting south of Corpus Christi, north of South Padre Island, and even one that says that it could potentially be a hurricane as well. So that is another thing to watch out for. And then you also have the rogue member that actually takes it up towards Mississippi as well. But that is the interesting thing here, is that the GFS now takes it more southernly, and potentially some impacts, more impacts with land. And it'll be pretty interesting, to say the least. I believe you have my my account on Discord. I'm not sure. If not, then I'll keep it in my back pocket here. It's not self-promotion, Sam. It's not. Only YouTube channels and stuff like that. If they say, hey, follow my YouTube channel, follow my Twitch, stuff like that. Christina, sharing, see your comment, help me not scared. Sat in the car on July 28th watching your channel. with Madison, Wisconsin, and all of the lightning, how pretty it was. First time seeing your channel. I appreciate that, Christina. Thank you so much for staying with my channel even after all that. Thank you so much. But yeah, that's I guess it's the final countdown now to see, is it going to be passing through? Is it going to get there eventually? We'll have to see. Yeah, 27 knots here with that buoy right there. This buoy is getting 27 knots as well. There you go. But yeah, a lot of convection there. And a lot of intensification with this, too. Will Madison, Georgia receive any outer bands from Fred? Yes, it will. 100%. Anywhere in Georgia, most likely will be getting outer bands from Fred. Except for southeastern portions of Georgia. I think you guys are more or less in the clear, as we've established for the most part. An update for you all on the other reconnaissance mission. As I said, mission 4 is already being sent out to Grace. So that's an interesting thing there. They probably won't get to the tropical system until about 10. I'd say about 10 o'clock, maybe even 10:30 is when they'll start to get to Grace. But the interesting thing about Grace is that you had a lot of that convection right within there that really had a heightened amount of activity. You had some winds, probably wind gusts and upwards of 45 miles per hour, even to 50 in some spots. So you had a lot of activity there. Do I have anything for Grace? I do have, I can talk about Grace again if you guys want me to here. Taking a look at the satellite imagery here, we're going to take a look at not the infrared, jeez, the water vapor imagery. There you go. I can speak. Water vapor imagery here tells us a lot of things. First off, if you take a look at all this dark, dark color area over here, that tells us that there's a lot of dry air here. So that's pretty interesting. Why am I smelling smoke? Someone burning something? Alright, it's not my computer. So it might be something downstairs. And it is something downstairs. Okay, then had to check that because, you know, whenever you smell smoke, that's kind of concerning in your house. But here you go. So dry air on the western side of the system. You can see how there's been a recent uptick in convection towards the center area of low pressure. I think it's actually been able to consolidate a bit further as it continues to move off towards the west. It's moving very slow compared to what it was yesterday, going down from 20 miles per hour towards west-northwest, now down to, I believe, 10. So it's about 15. So it's about 15 miles per hour as to how it's been moving. It's moving over relatively warm waters, not exactly deep warm waters, but it's still moving over relatively warm waters for the most part. It's expected to move into Hispaniola for the most part, with a lot of land interaction over there. And most, if not everyone, is expecting this system to weaken a little bit further. A lot of land interaction typically does that, especially with the mountains that are over there. And so it could potentially disrupt the flow of most of this activity. And a lot of the models are actually saying that this could potentially reform down towards the southern side of Cuba. If it does that, then it is anticipated to move into the Gulf of Mexico. And it's expected to further move on closer towards most likely the western side of the Gulf of Mexico, which would basically be Texas and Mexico. Through the Bay of Campeche, if not a bit further north of that. So really something that we're going to have to watch out for as this continues to move on through. We're not going to really use the radar imagery all too much. It's moving too far away for us to really use that. But here's the cone of uncertainty. In the National Hurricane Center, besides the fact that they take this through most of these islands over here, you can see how this actually ends up going into the Gulf of Mexico further. And if you can kind of just extend the cone further out from that, you can see how Texas could potentially be in the crosshairs of this tropical system by the end of this week. So we'll be continuing to watch out for the system as much as possible. As I said, I will be doing daily tropical updates at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time for as much as possible throughout, you know, this entire hurricane season. Won't be able to do it tomorrow or Tuesday because I do have my other job that I'm going to be attending a Zoom call for. But this is still something that we're going to continue to watch out for as this continues to move on through, and I will be live streaming again on Wednesday evening. Now, one thing that I just thought of in my brain that, yeah, I know, big brain moment. Nathan can actually think for once. I want to go over to at least one of the two models here and go on to Weather Bell. And I want to go over to the Caribbean here. We're going to go on to precipitation. We're going to show you all the maximum amount of precipitation over the next couple of days with both of these systems, actually. So you can see, here's Grace, and you can see there's a plethora amount of rain that's already starting to move on through into the Dominican Republic. Look at that. You already got some rain rates in upwards of about, what is this? Yeah, about 5 inches of rain already. And the system's not even passed on through. As this continues to move on through, even higher amounts of rain expected, over 10 inches of rain from this, according to the GFS, which is pretty crazy to say the least. Even higher amounts of rain over here from Fred into places of the panhandle of Florida, in upwards of 5 or maybe even above inches. I think in localized areas you can get higher than that, maybe up to 10 inches, maybe even higher than 10 inches in some areas. Definitely something to watch out for. But then as Grace continues to progress, you can see that the Dominican Republic and Haiti do get an exponential amount of rain. I would say a safe bet would be 6 inches across the board. A safe bet would be 6 inches across the board. You can see higher amounts in some areas possible. Flash flooding will definitely be a huge threat, especially with the mountainous terrain over there. Localized areas and valleys will most likely see mudslides and that, or flash flood, you know, flash flood streams, stuff like that. Very, very concerning for an area that's already been hit with a high magnitude 7 earthquake within this general vicinity. So Haiti really needs to watch out. Haiti really needs to watch out, as if they haven't been already. But yeah, that's the rain rate from the GFS. Let's go over to the Euro and see that same rain rate. And the Euro's even worse. I mean, my goodness. Euro really wants to dump and absorb an amount of rain over Haiti. And that's a lot of rain. That's about, if I, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, Greater Antilles. Here you go. Jeez. Yeah, there you go. Over the span of 3 days, it is anticipated to be 12 inches of rain in Haiti in some spots. And that's kind of, ow. That's a lot of rain. So the Euro really wants to dump an absorbent amount of rain over these areas. Very crazy. Do I follow the ensemble members of the GFS and the Euro? Yes, I do. You can actually see that on Tropical Tidbits, but you can also see it on Weather Bell here. And I use that quite frequently. Big Nate, thanks for coming out on Twitch. I really do appreciate it. Let's see actually how many followers I have on Twitch here from you all. Yeah, look at that. 306 followers. I really do appreciate it. We even have 11 followers on Twitch too. Shout out to all the people who are on Twitch here this evening. As I said, I'm going to be streaming from 2 platforms from now on for weather and stuff like that. But yeah, there's the ensemble for Fred from the GFS. Let's go over to Grace here. And just going back to Grace for the most part for just a general idea as to where this all is heading. You can see how this propagates towards the Yucatan Peninsula and even parallels the big island of Cuba. And so we really got to watch out, for the most part, the western side of the Gulf of Mexico. I think that's going to be the area that'll have the highest likelihood of landfall. And if this ends up moving off towards the U.S. and even makes landfall in the U.S., we'll be doing a live stream for that if it does end up being a hurricane, which it probably will be. If it ends up heading towards Texas, it probably will be a hurricane. All right, that's just the that's it. The environment in the Gulf of Mexico is so unstable that it most likely will intensify further into a hurricane. And that's me being a little bit biased. There's a couple models that are even saying it's going to be higher than that, but I actually don't think that's the I don't think it's the move, honestly. I think it's a bit more of a doom cast, if you will. But we'll take a look at that. Here's the intensity guidance for you all. And we have a couple models that think it'll be category 3. Even prior, it said it could be a category 4, and I think that was too much. But we do have a couple models here, about 5, maybe even 6, that say that it could become a category 1 hurricane as it gets over the Gulf of Mexico. And I do think that that is most likely a plausible case here. But even in general, you can see that there's a couple more, a couple more models that are a bit lower than that. The general consensus, besides these 4 or 5 models that are down below tropical storm strength, the general consensus is that this thing will eventually intensify. And that is, that's the concern right there. Is that if this thing does continue to intensify, how much will it intensify further? So, bruh, surge. So, that's the big question. Is that how intense will this thing be? I'm curious here. We're going to go back to Fred here. Take a look at intensity guidance. And a lot of the models, yeah, they still say that this will become still stay as a tropical storm before it makes landfall. So that's the good thing there, is that the models are at least consistent with that. Let's take a look at Invest 96L. And what in the world is this? 96L, which most likely will become Tropical Storm Henry here soon. What in the world is this? Look at this. We have a couple models that think it'll become a Category 3 hurricane. There you go. That's the way to go right there. You can tell how sarcastic I'm being because I actually don't think this will happen. I think it'll become Tropical Storm Henry for the most part. I don't even think it'll become... I think it's just too unfavorable for it to become a Category 1 hurricane. I think it's too unfavorable at the moment. So... That's the ceiling, apparently. The ceiling is Category 4 hurricane. Sheesh. As if things couldn't progress further after that. We are 1 subscriber away from 12,900 folks. One subscriber away. Can we do it? I'm not sure if we can. But yeah, the models are drunk right now on 96L. It's just, it's pretty bad. It's really bad. Who am I kidding? So. Alright, let's take a look at the, what the hurricane hunters are doing. They're passing through the center right now. So we're going to be able to see this thing right here live as it moves through the center area of low pressure. So here's Fred. There we go. We're going to refresh this. Thank you very much. And it's about to go through this major burst of convection as well. So we might even see some higher amounts of surface wind here soon too. Let's take a look at the graph. Let's take a look at the graph and see what it's encountering. And it's encountering a lot of tropical storm force winds. Higher rain rate, too. You can see the little pink line that moves up. If it spikes like that, then you have a lot of rain, gusty winds that are feeding into this thing. But yeah, I mean, you got a pretty strong tropical system here for this time of year and for what it's been doing. Of course, it's not no hurricane. It ain't no hurricane. But it's been going through a lot of adversity. So that's the one thing with that. All right, so pretty soon after this tropical, well, after the hurricane hunters move through the southwestern quadrant, we're probably going to be calling it for the night. And as I said, I will be updating you all tomorrow morning with new information. Probably not tomorrow morning. It would be tomorrow afternoon, I'd say. But still something to watch out for. Yeah, very strong convection here on the eastern side. This thing is intensifying further. I mean, you know, with just satellite, we'd be able to tell, but I have a feeling we're going to be able to tell here with the hurricane hunters here pretty soon, too. So yeah, a lot of tropical storm force winds as this thing continues to move about. A reminder that Fred is currently a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm and is expected to intensify further into a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Might even be stronger a little bit further as it gets closer and closer. There is tropical storm warnings that have already been issued across the board, as well as storm surge warnings. And storm surge, in some instances, could even be as high as, I believe it was 5 feet is what they mentioned. We'll go over, open link in a new tab. And there we go. There's your storm surge. 3 to 5 feet from Indian Pass all the way to the Steinhatchee River. So really a lot to watch out for. Local NBC station could have at least covered it on Facebook Live or a backup station. Sheesh. No one needs this on top of COVID. Oh yeah. Haiti doesn't need this anymore either, especially since this thing is expected to move over Haiti. Let's go over back to Grace. And when I mean this thing, I mean Grace. It was a tropical storm, now it's a tropical depression, and it's expected to move over Haiti, and Haiti just got hit by a magnitude 7 earthquake. So they're about to get a lot more rain here too. So as I said, we're going to be uploading a video tomorrow morning. Or probably late tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon. We'll be giving you guys updates about this as much as possible. So please turn on channel notifications. Let's go back to Grace here. Actually, can I go over to the Euro? Okay, so it's still 12Z here. Yeah, just one more thing for the spaghetti models here. Here's the Euro model again, and you can see a lot of the model members, the ensemble members, really take this thing to the Gulf of Mexico, to the central portions of the Gulf of Mexico, and eventually ends off closer towards places like Texas even Mexico, maybe even Louisiana. But if it does head off to like Texas and Mexico, they're forecasting this to potentially become a high-end tropical storm to maybe even a low-end hurricane. I think if it does get off into the Gulf of Mexico, I think it'll be able to get to a hurricane status. Just the environment is so good out there for things to intensify. Not as much shear. As a matter of fact, there isn't really a whole lot of shear. So we really would have to watch out for that thing to continue to intensify further. Still no update from the hurricane hunters, unfortunately. Funny thing is that the I think it's the NOAA hurricane hunters that can actually shoot off radar. But the radar is not exactly available to the public. There's a way to do it. You know, if we go over here, and then we go over to, not the live camera collection, Lamau. Go over to the live Recon over here. You'd be able to see radar through some specific areas, but it's not available to the general public. It's available to specific people in the National Hurricane Center for the most part. So, unfortunate as it is, but still. We have other stuff that helps us out with what's happening here. You metal detect, you look forward to hurricane season? Yeah, that'll be interesting, because most stuff will be eroded, and you'll be able to see some stuff that are lodged deep within sand. So there you go. Poor Haiti. Your favorite teacher is at East Kentwood High School and was born in Haiti. Sheesh. Yeah, Haiti's just been dealing with a lot. It's unfortunate with how much it's dealt with. Outer bands of Fred impacting the coast, the western coast of Florida. Water spouts are possible. According to some reports, there's actually been some water spouts already. There could be wind gusts in upwards of 34 knots, maybe even higher in some spots as well. So a lot of activity. Fantasy football draft coming, Nate. Yeah, it'll be next Monday. Decided to move it to next Monday because of the whole rescheduling for my job thing. Yeah, as I said, I appreciate everyone who comes out to Twitch and watches. I really do. I probably will be doing more stuff with Twitch in the future. If you guys haven't already followed my Twitch channel, please be sure to do that. I am streaming on there at the same time as I am streaming onto YouTube. So, yeah. Haiti's president also got assassinated too. Yeah, Haiti is just kind of in shambles. They originally had their president assassinated. Then they got hit by a tropical system, and that didn't do too much. But then they got hit by a massive earthquake that was comparable to the earthquake they had about 10 years ago, something like that. And now they're getting a tropical system that's going to be moving through when they have no infrastructure anymore. So that's just sheesh. It's really bad. Is there a chance that the storm Fred will come to Alabama? Yes, it will. It will indeed be heading towards Alabama. If we take a look at the cone of uncertainty here, you can see that it actually goes over the eastern portions of Alabama right there. It actually does include little parts of Birmingham as well. But it'll be on the eastern side of Alabama. So if you live on the eastern side of Alabama, that's where you guys will most likely be impacted there. Is Maryland going to be safe when it starts to bend? Or is it just west of Annapolis and east of DC? Or are you just west of Annapolis and east of DC? So the thing of it is that this system will most likely be relatively weak by the time it gets over there. So That's the good news for you all, but this thing could potentially merge with some form of severe weather and have the outer bands on the eastern side. So if this tropical system moves like this, it'll have some outer bands that go kind of like that. You could potentially get some severe weather that could linger for you all by the end of this week. I think that's actually most likely the case. Twitch is unavailable. Unfortunate. I'll actually have to change that. Where is... Oh, it is. There you go. All right. Refresh your page. Because I did change my name on Twitch. There you go. But yeah, you'll have these outer bands that swirl from the tropical system. And that could create your severe weather behind, well, with the tropical system, that could create some damaging wind gusts. Not exactly a huge tornado threat unless you get closer and closer towards the center area of low pressure. And that's actually forecasted to kind of be over West Virginia and Pennsylvania. So I might actually get some activity once it heads up here. But that's the one thing there for you all. That's the 2 cents as to how it heads off towards the northeast. Will it impact those areas? Probably will, but it'll just be a lot weaker. All right, the system is now kind of went through the center area of low pressure. I say kind of because it's having a little bit of a time. So here it is. I think it might have missed the center area of low pressure. Yeah, I think it might have missed that. So that's pretty fun. Let's take a look and see what it's doing here. No, it didn't miss it. It actually got a little bit of it. So it's just a little bit weaker. Not exactly a well-defined center area of low pressure, but it did deal with some tropical storm force winds for the most part heading towards the center. So really interesting to say the least. How do I pair my stream on other platforms? You can multi-stream on Streamlabs OBS. So that's what I did. I typically do that anyways. I typically do that. Grace Cat 3 Texas, Saturday the 21st. I mean, I can't say it'll be a Category 3, but I do think if it does end up heading towards Texas, it'll probably be a hurricane. I just have that high of a confidence. Not a whole lot of shear. Very warm, unstable waters. So, yeah, a lot of activity to say the least. I'll say that much. Let's go back to, let's actually delete a couple of these things here. We'll delete some of the satellite imageries. Grace track we'll keep. Take out the current information for that. Take out that. Of course you do, Sam. You want to chase it. Take out the Linda for the most part. Interactive. Yeah, I don't think we need that as much. Google Maps, don't really care about it. Storm Prediction Center, probably not. Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good. Don't need the latest satellite imagery either. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. We've cleaned a bunch of stuff. Let's go over to the first drop zone here. And there actually seems to be a bit of dry air in the upper parts of the atmosphere. There you go. There's that dry air that we were talking about. There's the dry air that we were talking about. So if that continues to impact the system more and more, it won't be able to... you won't be able to see it rapidly intensify. You'll just see it intensify gradually, and it'll be kind of like this subtropical system. So that's the good news with that. But if it can clear out some of that dry air there, and it'll be a bit more interesting. Just a little bit more interesting. Nick, what's up? Hello, hello. Crazy question, but is it Category 5 possible for Grace? I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I really don't. I really don't see it. But yeah, high rain rate from Fred and Grace. Tomorrow's video is most likely going to be a video for Haiti. And then I'll talk a bit about areas out past Haiti, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be wondering what's going to be happening in Haiti, especially with, they're going to think it's most likely going to be earthquake activity, but no, it'll be this tropical system that'll create some torrential rainfall, create some flash flooding. It'll be it could be pretty bad over there. It could be pretty bad. All right, so the other aircraft reconnaissance for Grace is withered away. Fred's high density. Sheesh. I am doing fine, Nick. Thank you for asking. How about yourself? Are you doing well? You doing well, my friend? I hope you are. Alright, it's past. It's moved past the actual system. So let's take a look and see. And the temperature has increased a lot. Sheesh. So temperature in Celsius increased a lot. Dew point didn't decrease a whole lot. That's at flight level. So it might be a bit higher up in the atmosphere. A bit higher up in the atmosphere when this, where the dry air starts to seep in. I can't wait until they have a drop sonde over there, though. Once they drop a drop sonde right in that southwestern portion of the storm, then we'll be actually able to know what's happening here. Spreadsheet looking through. I don't see a time here to which things can start running again. GFS Hurricane, Cat 3 Texas, Cat 1 Fred. I don't think Fred's going to be a hurricane. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Most models actually say that Fred will stay as a tropical storm, and I would have to agree. 60 miles per hour, 60 mile per hour winds is possible with the thing, so just be a little bit under. But this is the intensity guidance here from most of the models here for Fred, and you can see that this system is 45 knot storm, so 45 knot storm as a base, and then it intensifies to a 50 knot storm, which would be a 60 mile per hour storm, some of which could even be higher, up to 55 knots or 65 miles per hour. But this little yellow line up here, that's hurricane strength up there, and none of these little line graphs actually reach up to that line. So don't think that it will be able to do that. Do you pair the stream when it says stream destinations? I'd have to recall here. I believe when you start live streaming, so you say when it says go live, if you've already put in your Twitch channel, on the top left you hit the little cursor to turn it on. And then once it gets down to once you're done with that, you go down to the advanced settings or whatever, and then that's where you can edit your stuff typically. I love what Streamlabs has actually done as of late, because you can actually schedule streams and it shows up on a calendar, so you can actually do it ahead of time, and it's really, really nice. Very nice looking. It's shifted more towards the Cayman Islands. I would say Grace has. Its trajectory has ended up going that way. A lot of the models think that the Cayman Islands most likely will be impacted here. And this is what the latest data that came out here. Where's Fred? Fred is, if I remember correctly, it's about 70-ish miles southeast, or southwest, I should say, west-southwest of Tampa, Florida. So it's, if I were to show you on the map here, here's Florida, here's the outline of Florida, and here is Fred. And Fred's having a whale of a time going up north. But let's take a look at the ensemble guidance again. For the person who asked about the Cayman Islands, there's the Cayman Islands as you know. And most of these little lines take this through Cuba and a little bit north of the Cayman Islands, according to this run. But then if we take a look at another run here, this is a separate model, but it's the same time in which they did it. Here's Grace, and these model runs take it through the Cayman Islands towards the Yucatan Peninsula. So now, if you were asking me when this could potentially be heading off into your area, well, let's try and take a look at the forecast models here. HWRF, as of late, they had their 18Z run. And if you guys haven't seen it already, I saw it before the stream, and I decided not to use it all too much, but because the GFS did update a bit, I feel like it's probably a bit more useful now. So the HWRF model actually takes this through Hispaniola, but then it reforms on the southern side. You can see what the mountains does to this thing. It completely guts it. Look at all these thunderstorms that get left behind, and here's the center area of low pressure. Also, notice how, you know, Haiti right here doesn't have a little bit of rain at the moment. That's because these mountains have completely displaced these thunderstorms as it got closer and closer. So props to the HWRF for getting that so far. But then you can see as it continues to move off to the west, you can see now you got that extra band that's starting to swirl in. Now you're going to start to talk about the localized flood conditions that is possible with that. And then as this tropical system moves on through, here's the Cayman Islands right here. This is it. And according to the HWRF model, which loves to intensify a bit rapidly, favors rapid intensification a lot. So, you know, there could be some instances where the intensity is not as high as it actually is, but it does take it on a southern trend and takes it towards the Cayman Islands. You have a lot of activity here. There's Grand Cayman itself. You got a lot of this swirling thunderstorm activity over there. And that's not even, you know, the end of it. You also have the extra feeder band on the rear end too that's going to be impacting you as well. Now, the center area of low pressure, according to this model, actually takes it a bit further north. But once it actually passes you all, that's where some big amounts of storm surge could actually be possible. And I would just recommend staying away from the coast, even though most of the island is built along the coast. So I would say just more or less seek higher ground when this happens, if it happens, I should say. So that's the main thing there. And then, of course, this is the HWRF model being the HWRF model. I mean, look at this thing. Look at it. It just casually moves through. And that's actually the border of Mexico and Texas right here. This is South Padre Island. And for people who remember last year, Hurricane Hannah did not do the exact same thing, but it made landfall right around here as well. So that's something to really watch out for. And this system, you know, a lot of people were trying to figure out, you know, and ask me, how strong is this thing going to be as soon as it gets towards the United States? What is it going to do? Well, according to this model, this is the high ceiling of this event. this thing could potentially be a Category 3 or a Category 4 hurricane as it hits the coast. And that's pretty crazy. So that's just the one thing. And if people are curious as to what the what the stats are on this thing, it's a 940 millibar low pressure system. So really crazy to see how this progresses. Where is this at? Grace at the moment is currently near Puerto Rico, and we're trying to figure out as to where Tropical Depression Grace will go and whether or not it will intensify into a tropical storm or a hurricane or not. Tropical Storm Fred, on the other hand, we go over to Fred here. Fred, buddy, old pal. This is Monday evening, and you can see where it is and where it will impact. So here's Pensacola, here's Apalachicola, here's Panama City Beach. And right there tells you all you need to know. And that's also the reason why there's a very high storm surge risk over here in the Great Bend of Florida. Because you got all these bands that are surging in right here. And it's creating some very strong, damaging winds all throughout that. So, very strong activity there. That's going to stay over there, too. It's going to consistently stay over there even into Tuesday. So, from Monday until Tuesday, maybe even into Tuesday afternoon, there's a lot of activity that's just distributing all sorts of nonsense into the Great Bend of Florida. Could Fred shift a bit? I mean, it definitely could shift a little bit, but I still think that anywhere between Pensacola, Florida, and the Great Bend of Florida, you guys really need to watch out, because I think that's when you guys are. I think you guys are going to at least get impacted by Fred minimally. That's the floor. Maximum, you guys can be impacted head on. So, when will Fred make landfall? Sometime tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. If I am able to do so, I might be able to live stream it. Might be. I do have to do a little job thing, because I head coach ice hockey, so I probably will have to leave by 7 Eastern. But that's only if this thing really intensifies, intensifies. If this thing becomes like a borderline hurricane, so it's like 65 mile per hour, 65, 70 mile per hour winds, then who knows? I might be able to live stream it, but as of right now, I'd say probably won't be able to, and I probably won't be able to do these. As I said, won't be able to do these tropical updates at 8 o'clock from tomorrow and Tuesday because of that that job thing. But I will on Wednesday. On Wednesday, if you guys come back on Wednesday, I will be able to give you guys live in-depth analysis as well. And then tomorrow and Tuesday to make up for it, as I will be doing from every day now, I should say, I will be uploading videos every single day. At what time? Probably will be late morning into the early afternoon hours. So, when will we see the outer bands? Depends upon where you live, my friend. Braden, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Or welcome back, I should say. Did you see the chance of development off the East Coast? Went from a 30 to 40 to 70 to a 90 within one day. Oh, yeah. And it's probably going to become a tropical system here within the next hour, too. What if it shifted to Pensacola? What would the effects be? A lot more rain and maybe a little bit higher storm surge. Yeah, that'd probably be the case. Tornado threat would still be minimal for you all. But, yeah. So Panama City, when will you guys get your activity? Well, you guys could potentially start seeing your activity at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. That would be the very beginning of the activity. And then it'll progressively get worse till about, well, no, it'll continue to get worse. And then it'll be probably at its peak, probably at about 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, maybe even a little bit later than that. I think that's right around the time frame in which you guys could be getting your peak over there. And then it'll head off north, and you guys will be getting some outer bands from this. What will the wind speed be in Mobile or in Mobile? I believe it's Mobile. I think it'll stay relatively low for you all. And if we actually take a look at the wind here, this will be able to tell us for the most part. Yeah, I think it'll be low for the most part for you all. Probably winds in upwards of 20 miles per hour. Maybe, 30 miles per hour as a gust. I think you guys are not getting a whole lot from this. That's the reason why I said Pensacola and east. You're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot of activity. Will Charlotte, North Carolina get any of this? Well, let's continue with the model a little bit, shall we? I think you guys could potentially get some outer bands from this. And even as this heads off into the Appalachians, or the Appalachians, I should say. There you go. That's a little bit of activity here along the border of South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina. Here's Charlotte over there. They might get a couple outer bands from this system. There you go. So it kind of looks a bit weird as it continues to head off towards the north and east. But I do think you guys could get some outer bands. I don't think you guys are going to be impacted directly. I don't think it'll, the center will move right over your area. But I still think you guys could get some activity there. You're in Daytona Beach, working tomorrow morning. Not sure where the outer bands would be or wind speed. Daytona Beach, luckily for you all, you guys will be out of the risk here for the most part. So that's the good news. That is the good news. How strong will Fred be when it gets near Atlanta? It will most likely be a 1003 millibar storm. So it'll be probably a low-end tropical storm. And you'll probably have a decent little tornado risk over there as well. That's possible. Let's see. Any chance Grace will turn northward? I doubt it, honestly. I think it'll continue. I mean, I honestly think it'll continue on its westward trajectory. It has no reason to turn northward. You do have a little bit of a trough right here. You do have a little bit of a trough. You can see how that propagates and how it dips down like this. So you have your low pressure system. You also have another trough right here. This is a bit more of a upper level trough right here. So that's the reason why Fred is moving north, because you have a lot of this flow that's pushing that way. Yeah, Nate's anime, I know, right? But then this trough is expected to kind of recede a little. And we'll go back to the models here. Go to the GFS. We'll go to the Western Atlantic. We'll go to the 850 millibar winds here. And so here is your... that's not exactly the best here. Where is it? Let's go 500 millibar vorticity there. There we go. That's good enough. So here's your tropical system that's moving through. And as Grace continues to move closer and closer towards the Gulf of Mexico, you can see a lot of wind shear here ends up forcing this eastward. Or not eastward, westward. A lot of these wind barbs are northeasterlies. And that's kind of pushing this thing off into the Gulf of Mexico, even though you have a lot of flow here from the south that's pushing it off towards the north. So it's going to kind of recede with this, according to the GFS here, and stay in the Gulf of Mexico for the most part. You live near Philadelphia. Will you get any wind from Fred? You might get a couple bands which could create some wind and stuff like that. But it won't be like, you know, massive bits and bobs. But it'll be towards the end of the week. Towards the end of the week for you all. Yeah, you have some pretty decent steering here. And then, of course, as this continues to move closer and closer, it'll eventually make landfall somewhere. Do I like Naruto? Naruto's not bad. It's definitely not bad. Let's see. Let's go towards the end of the GFS model run. See if there's anything else that forms here. And it doesn't look like it. Of course, the EWP, it said that it was we were going to start getting into a bit of a dry spurt for tropical development. So that's something to note, is that after all this activity, especially from Grace, so we might go into a little bit of a break. Now, the CFS says otherwise, that will be about average, but we'll have to continue to monitor that. I think the best thing that we need to watch out for first, of course, is Fred, and then afterwards, the big question is Grace. Big question is Grace. It is 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We have been live streaming for 2 hours. Let's take a look at that aircraft Recon now, shall we? See what it's done. Okay, so it has now turned off to the east. So it's making this pass here to the east, which I think is the best case scenario for this thing. And then it'll go across again, and it'll approach from the south and east, moving off to the north and west. So a lot of activity from the Hurricane Hunters before it eventually heads back over towards Biloxi. But let's take a look at this drop sonde here. Drop sonde number 5, right in the eye. And that's a lot of moisture here for where they dropped it. You can see how the humidity is relatively high here, except for maybe the 850 millibar vicinity. But right at the surface here, you can see how the green line and the red line is touching. And the closer that gets, the higher the humidity is. And so if you ever see the red line stay straight, but then the green line does these little spikies, that's kind of not good for tropical systems. It's really not good for tropical systems, actually. So with that drop sonde, it seems as if it has a little bit more moisture towards the center area of low pressure. When is the next update for Fred? That would be in an hour. What about Delaware? Delaware will be fine. It won't be impacted by this event at all. Or at least it could get a little bit of, you know, outer bands, but it won't get anything major. It really won't. A reminder for some people here that I am live streaming as well on Twitch. So if you haven't already, please be sure to follow my Twitch channel. I'm going to be trying to get a two different platforms, I guess, to live stream on. And so if we can build that platform on Twitch as much as possible, as quickly as possible, that'd be greatly appreciated. And so that way, we'll be able to inform as many people as possible on as many platforms as possible. Basically, if we have more people watching, then we'll be getting the word out a lot quicker. Could school get canceled? I don't think so. I wouldn't think that it will get canceled. So that's the good news for most people. Although it's first day of school, so I'm pretty sure, you know, the people who are going to school, they're not going to like it as much. Mark Muller, what's up? Welcome back to the channel here. Nice to see you. I'm doing good. How about yourself? Can we get another drop sonde here? Will they be giving us another drop sonde here? I'm hoping that they put a drop sonde on this southwestern quadrant. I'll be able to at least know what's going on. Update should be out in any minute. I think it'll most likely come out in 4 minutes. Well, not 4, geez, 40 minutes. Not 4 minutes. I'm a donut. But yeah, I do think that it'll be coming out in about 40 minutes. It'll be able to do stuff. Jeez. It's gonna be crazy. What about the one behind Grace? So the interesting thing about that is, and if we go over to, please stay on YouTube, phone doesn't have Twitch. Oh no, I think you misunderstand. So I'm going to be live streaming on both YouTube and Twitch at the same time. And so I'm going to be trying to look at, well, not look at, I'm going to be trying to get as many people watching as possible, and then, you know, try and distribute information out that way. How active has this season been in comparison to previous years at this point? It had a very active start. And then it kind of just depleted a little. So, I guess you could say it's above average as of right now. Watching Fred pretty close. Father lives just north of Tallahassee. Well, I would continue to try and watch that as much as possible. As I said, you know, tropical system most likely will be heading off into that general vicinity with some very heavy rain across the board and some very interesting storm surge for people who live along the coast, as well as potentially a interesting tornado threat too. Will Grace turn into a hurricane before it hits Texas? If it goes into the Gulf of Mexico and heads off towards Texas, it most likely will do so. Most likely will do so. But yeah, a lot of dry air right over here. And then there's more dry air over here. Let's see if I can, let's see if we can see it here. I don't see it. It's a little too late, unfortunately. Maybe if we go to College DuPage. Do I think this year will beat name storms of 2020? I kind of think not. I would have to say I'd have to say that's unlikely. I actually my prediction for storms, total amount of named storms was a lot lower than what I had last year. So, I mean, it wasn't a lot lower, but it's still above average, don't get me wrong. But I had 18, no, was my final 18 to 20 named storms, or was it 17 to 19 named storms? I can't remember. It's somewhere along that. Personally, you know, I kind of don't see a point into doing that, because if we can't even predict storms 5 days out as to what they're going to be doing, let alone, you know, like months ahead, why should we even try? I mean, it's basically like a guessing game at that point, and I just don't see it as, you know, it's basically extra content, if you know what I mean. Oh yeah, a lot of dry air there. Let's see, true color, we're gonna go 96 frames. Look at that dry air there. Look at that dry air. Drier than the Sahara. Look at that. Big time dry air with this tropical wave. It does have a little bit of clearing on the southern side, but there's a lot of tropical activity engaging with that dry air, and it's just not going to really do a whole lot. I wouldn't think it will, at least. But yeah, you can see that kind of brownish in the sky, and that's your key factor right there, limiting a lot of that activity. Do I think severe weather will ramp up in the fall? Maybe a little bit, but I think that it'll be dominated by tropical weather, honestly. If you never want to be wrong, just say there will be at least one named storm. What if there's no named storms ever in that year? Then I'll look like an idiot. I'll look a lot like an idiot there. Another thing to tell that there's dry air here. Look at this outflow boundary here from the thunderstorm that kind of formed and just dissipated. Big time outflow boundary there. And that tells you there's a lot of dry air over there. It's combating with a lot of activity. So dry air is not exactly conducive for tropical development, and so it kills it off a lot quicker. So if you were to learn anything from this live stream, is that dry air is bad for tropical systems. So it's time for us to dump a bunch of glitter over the eyes of hurricanes. Bunch of sand, bunch of fine dust. Dump it all over that. We'll need like absorbent amounts of it though. Not just like, you know, a bucket. We'll have to do what the firefighters do with fire. Take those giant amounts of coolants and just dump it all over. Except just fill that up with dry air and boom. One thing I gotta say though is I don't think that's ever been tested. All right, I don't think that's ever been tested, and I don't think it'll work unless if we have like a bunch of aircraft reconnaissance planes. We have a bunch of planes that fly in. So dry air is the air that kills a hurricane. Yeah, more than likely. That and that with dry air and wind shear. There's some instances where wind shear can kill off hurricanes as well. But once a hurricane gets that high, once it gets up to a hurricane, then it can't exactly like kill a hurricane more or less. It just gradually weakens it. Yeah. It gradually weakens it. Still waiting for the aircraft reconnaissance data. I would love to see if they put a drop sonde out there, but don't exactly have that information at the moment. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to hold you for a little bit longer. I might actually have to wait until the 11 o'clock update after all. What does dry air have in it? Dust. And tropical systems love it to be as moist as possible. So if your opposite to moisture is dryness, then yeah, not exactly the best thing in the world for tropical systems to have. But yeah, we're just waiting for reconnaissance to pick up a bit. What's the strongest storm this year? So far, it's been Elsa. So far, it is Hurricane Elsa. Which I believe it was, what, an 85-mile-per-hour storm at max over water? Before it hit Cuba? Something like that. Ooh, excuse me. But NAM wants 975 millibar low pressure in Florida. Well, that's the NAM. And the NAM is the NAM. Can't exactly trust the NAM, can you? By the way, thank you guys so much for 300 followers on Twitch. We have 309 followers now on Twitch, actually. So I really do appreciate that. As I said, I will be live streaming on both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, trying to get as much information out as possible to as many platforms as possible. Probably won't be doing it on Facebook. Although we could do it on Facebook probably, you know, when I get a larger audience on YouTube or Twitch, either or. So Yep. Appreciate all the people here. I really do. And I appreciate the 11 people who are watching on Twitch too. Guys are guys are mad lads. You guys are the rebels over there. So I appreciate it. We have 191 likes on YouTube. I also really do appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate that. You know, the thing of it is that, you know, the reason why, you know, YouTubers ask for likes is because if you like the video, you actually get our content out to more people. Because what YouTube's algorithm does is it looks at a YouTuber's video, and if it has a bunch of likes, and if it has a bunch of comments, which if you haven't already in my videos, you should just say hi to say, yeah, hey, something like that. Helps me out in the algorithm as well too. But it basically sees that and it says, oh look, there's a lot of people who like this video, they're engaging in it, and they want to be a part of the community. Well, what if we send it to more people? Will they like it too? Will they join in on this on the channel as well? And so then it goes out to more and more people. And if they enjoy the content, it'll send out to other people as well. So that's the reason why I ask, you know, for people to like the live stream or share it with friends and family and stuff like that, because it gets it out to more people. But, you know, for me, for weather's sake, this also gets it to where not only does it get it out to more people, but the content that you're sharing with other people too, this is weather information that people may need. And so, you know, especially if they live in these areas, you know, tomorrow I'm going to be uploading a video on Haiti and how there's going to be some torrential rainfall over there that can cause some flash flooding. You know, so it's all about the spread of the video and how it can get to other people. That's how it is on YouTube. All right. So that's the reason why I ask. That is the reason why I ask. You live in San Diego, but you love watching your storm coverage. Well, I appreciate that, Megan. Thank you so much. I really do. I really do appreciate it. How can you judge the steering of the storms? By wind shear for the most part. Wind shear can basically guide the storms, and it would have to be it would honestly have to depend between what type of shear is ongoing over there. But wind shear can direct the pattern of the storms, and you can even see here. Here's Fred. All right, for instance, you have Fred right there, and then if you look very closely, you can see that there is a trough right here with this these clouds that are moving this way. You even have bits and bobs of these clouds moving up north this way too. And so there's a general flow, there's a general steering of this tropical system to move north. And that's what it's been doing for the most part. It's anticipated to move towards the Panama City Beach area. And there you go. That's the reason why Fred is expected to move north. Watching from Thomasville, Georgia. Well, thank you so much for coming out to the live stream. And you guys, I'd say you guys need to just watch out for, you know, the outer bands of the system, because this could definitely move off into your general vicinity. I'd watch out for it at least. Grace to go to Texas or Mexico? It definitely could. Actually, there was a run here of Grace that actually went towards Brownsville or South Padre Island. Let's take a look at that here again for people who are curious. All right, so here's the radar imagery. This is Puerto Rico here. So I'll be guiding you guys through with this as this continues to move about. So here it goes. This is Hispaniola. It's about to move through the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Look at how much rain is through there as well. A lot of rain there, especially with Haiti getting that high-end magnitude 7 earthquake. You're going to see a lot of flooding issues over there. A lot of flooding. Then as this continues to move on through, you can see it. That's the southern portion of Cuba on the top part of your screen. Here's the Cayman Islands here. There's Grand Cayman right there. And that ends up continuing to move on through. And then that's the Yucatan Peninsula. There's Cozumel right there. heads off into the Bay of Campeche. And then eventually, as this continues to move on through, there's the border of Texas and Mexico. And it's supposed to head on through there. Now, this is not set in stone exactly, but this is just an example of what these models, their little opinions are over and over and over again. So that's just one opinion right here. One opinion of where Grace is going to be heading. And so regardless, we're going to be updating you guys as much as possible. As I said, I'll be uploading a video tomorrow, probably late tomorrow morning. And then I'll be uploading another video probably around the same time on Tuesday. And then I'll be doing live tropical updates again from Wednesday and onward. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The only time tropical updates probably won't be uploaded is obviously tomorrow and Tuesday because I have my little job thing that I have to do on Zoom. And then the other thing would have to be because I'm probably live streaming earlier and I would continue to live stream through there. So it'd probably be like a landfall event of a tropical system. It wouldn't exactly be like a tropical update, but then again, I'm updating you as to what's happening with that tropical system. So I guess it's a tropical update. Espanola getting hit 3 times in a row now. Sheesh. Yeah, I know, right? They don't get a break. They do not get a break. Waiting for those bans. The news showed a ton of rain bans in your area tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Will Fred impact Jacksonville, Florida? I would have to say no, honestly. I think Jacksonville is most likely going to be in the clear for the most part. So yeah, let's take a look here. You can see how this gets closer and closer. I think you guys could get some outer bands. Maybe some showers and thunderstorms that might move on through your area. Not a whole lot of shear there either, but you guys could get some showers and thunderstorms. But this will mainly impact areas near Pensacola and Apalachicola and Tallahassee, that general area. Dauphin, Alabama, north of Panama City Beach on the Alabama-Florida, Georgia state line. Glad cooked and froze up a ton of food. Oh, yeah, just in case if there's any sort of power outages, definitely could be something to watch out for, 100%. How far north is Fred expected to travel? Well, that's a good question. So according to the HWRF model, it actually thinks it goes into Ontario. Even the deep southern parts of Ontario towards Windsor and stuff like that. But it won't exactly be like anything, you know, organized. It'll be like dissipated by then. So I'll say the remnants of Fred can go up into Canada, but most likely the organization of Fred could probably go up all the way to Ohio. Columbus, Georgia, definitely is going to get impacted. It'll be as a tropical storm, more or less. So you can see how you got a lot of these bands that are surging into the border of Georgia and Alabama. So it's really something to watch out for as that continues to move on through. But it'll be a interesting risk here of heavy rain. We'll actually go back to the rain totals here. Let's see. Yeah, Bainbridge could definitely be impacted as well. So I would watch out for that too. Anywhere near Tallahassee, north of Tallahassee, and areas near Panama City and north of Panama City. Anywhere near the border of Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. You guys really need to watch out. And here's the U.S. rainfall potential again for people who are curious. Obviously, you know, once you start getting to the border, it's probably not going to have as heavy amount of rain. 2 to 4 inches of rain expected around your area. I think that'll probably increase possibly. You might see some of that yellows head a bit further east. But areas here near Panama City and Apalachicola, 6 to 10 inches of rain is possible here. And that is a lot of rain. A lot of rain. So, really need to watch out for that. And then for people who are curious and people who live along the coast, storm surge is going to be an issue here. Here from Pensacola Bay all the way down towards the Indian Pass area. 1 to 3 feet of storm surge is possible. But this is the real area that we're going to watch out for. The Big Bend of Florida right here, from Indian Pass to Steinhatchee River, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge is possible. And that is a lot of water. That is a lot of water for a tropical storm. Typically you see, 5-foot storm surge within the low category 1 hurricane. And we don't have that. We have tropical storm. So this is one of those things where we really need to watch out for. And then even down towards Yankeetown, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge is possible. Even north of Clearwater, you guys could even see some storm surge. 1 to 3 feet of storm surge is possible with that as well. How common is it for hurricanes / tropical storms or depressions to produce lightning? Very common. Very common. It's just, if it's not exactly... The outer bands can produce lightning. There's a lot of activity that can do so, and it's already producing lightning now as we speak too. If we go over towards Weather Nerds, might be able to show you all satellite imagery here. Update plot, and please tell me. All right, there we go. Animated GIF, make GIF. Pray to God. Okay, so these little, just ahead of time, you guys can see these little white dots in the middle of this convection. That's lightning strikes. That's lightning that's being picked up by the satellite. All right, download the GIF, and hopefully we'll be able to see it once we open it. Can you show a model taking Grace to Louisiana? I don't think I can at the moment. I don't think I can. Look at how much lightning is off on this feeder band here of Fred. Look at that. A lot of lightning here on the southern edge. Lot of it. And then you even have some lightning here within the main batch of convection as well. So, I mean, there's just a plethora amount of strong convection that's really trying to intensify this thing. A lot of dry air on this southwestern side. I want to take a look at the drop sonde here, and we might actually be able to see it for once here. If we refresh the page, will it give us a drop sonde? No, it will not, because why? But yeah, I don't have a model that tells or that shows us a storm like Grace setting towards Louisiana. You're scared since you live in Jacksonville and go to school tomorrow? Don't need a whole tornado ruining your day. Yeah, you guys had a tornado the last time the tropical system went through. Was that Elsa? Yeah, Elsa gave you guys a lot of activity too, so sheesh. Let's see. Grace's trajectory changes. It goes to the north, the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula as a tropical storm. From there, go out to the Gulf of Mexico to Texas as a Category 3 or 4 hurricane. That's the only issue, though, because you need to wait until this thing reforms off of Haiti, Dominican Republic, Hispaniola, and Cuba. Once it does that, though, then we can determine probably almost exactly as to where it's going to go and try and make a crack at how intense it's going to be. So, yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to say the least. What about water spouts and tornadoes? Yeah, I actually think that there could be a pretty interesting tornado threat tomorrow. Anywhere, we're going to go back to the HWRF model here. And the thing of it is, here with tropical systems, is that I am most concerned about areas on the eastern half of the tropical system. The reason why I say that is because you have a lot of vorticity along these outer bands that create these little spinning rotations, all right? And with these little bands here that come off of tropical systems, if they continue to produce water spouts like they're already doing right now, there's a bunch of warnings off the coast of Florida right here. You can see if I zoom out a little bit. There's a lot of warnings here, these special marine warnings for water spouts. That's what this says right here. Water spouts and wind gusts and upwards of 34 knots. Maybe even higher in some spots. If that continues to do so, then these water spouts could eventually progress and head on to the coast. So anywhere along the coast could be an area to watch for water spouts. But the reason why I also include this spot over here is because In most instances, wind shear, upper level wind shear, typically comes from the south and west and move towards the north and east. And so you have lower level wind shear coming out from the south and even moving from the south and east. And then you have upper level wind shear that's coming from the south and west. That creates a general spin in the atmosphere to create little mini supercells within the line. And that's how you get, well, tornadoes out, even if they're over land. So that's really something we got to watch out for as this continues to progress over as well. Will Mariana, Florida get any impacts? Mariana, Florida will most likely get impacted by this tropical system. So I definitely would want to watch out for that as well. I haven't get much in Punta Gorda, Florida. Not even a feeder band. Not a strong one, at least. Yeah, you guys aren't expected to get a whole lot as of right now. And even afterwards, you know, these storms are expected to stay a bit off of the coast of western Florida. But you guys could potentially get some of these storms that could move on forward. It's just the only issue, if we play the loop here, you can see how these storms, you know, they're moving north. And so they might actually kind of just, you know, miss you guys by a little bit. But I think you guys could start getting some showers and thunderstorms later on this evening. Probably past midnight. And moving on through. How accurate is the Storm Prediction Center? For the most part, it's been pretty accurate. It never really underdoes an event. So, I mean, there's, of course, some instances to where, you know, no one is ever perfect. But usually what they, in those instances, is where they try to overdo it rather than underdo it. And I guess the big phrase there is, you'd rather be safe than sorry. It's not trying to, you know, scare people. It's just trying to warn people ahead of time. But yeah, Mariana, Florida, I do believe you guys could get impacted by the tropical system. Posted a video of pretty close lightning strike to your house the other day. Wasn't the loudest in the video, but it was loud IRL. Kind of sounded like the fireworks outside, I assume, in the severe chat at Discord. Okay, I'll take a look at that in a bit. RF Patel, what's up? Hello, hello. Tornadoes are usually weaker, but last year, 1 a.m., we saw EF2 hit Suffolk, Virginia. Yeah, that was because there was a lot of upper level wind shear. That's the reason why that's why I always talk about the northeastern side of tropical systems. It's because you could even see tornadoes, even if it's over land. Look at the day 3 SPC outlook. Day 3 is what? A marginal, right? I think it's a marginal. How are we looking at Clearwater, St. Pete tonight? I think you guys could be getting some showers and thunderstorms consistently all the way through. There's a special marine warning out for you guys anyways. And I'll actually... The main radar that you guys use over there is kind of broken at the moment. So we're going to use your airport radar. And it's not going to tell you guys, you know, as good of a signal as the main radar would. But, you know, we'll use what we can. And you can see there's one batch of thunderstorms that's off to your west. So that's not really too much of a concern. But the area that I'm really watching out for is to your south. And this band of convection right here. You can see a lot of these thunderstorm activities. I say convection, I mean thunderstorm activity. So you can see a lot of that right here. And this is moving off towards the north. You can see as the loop progresses, kind of. I'll try and get more frames here for you all so you guys can see what I mean. There you go. There you go. So you can see how this thing is progressing northwards, and I think that's going to be the that's going to continue to be the case here. A lot of this activity here that's in the southern portion of Florida will eventually move northward, and I think areas in Tampa, Clearwater, you guys could potentially be getting some strong thunderstorms moving into your general vicinity in the early morning hours of tomorrow. National Hurricane Center. Linda just got issued a second ago. So Hurricane Linda Advisory 24 just got issued. They're probably going to be issuing more advisories here within the next probably 10 minutes. So I'd watch out for it as this continues to move on through. So I guess we're going to be staying up until the next advisory after all. If you were to compare Elsa to Fred, which one is more intense? It would have to depend upon what aspect you're looking at. So if you're looking at from a sustained wind and tornado threat perspective, I would say Elsa is probably going to be the higher impact of that. From a rain and storm surge perspective, I would say Fred in this instance would probably have to take the cake as of right now. NAM 3K is not that bad. I use the NAM 3K on the regular. I've never seen a tornado or water spout in person, which I'm thankful for, but I have seen horizontal funnel clouds at Assateague Island. Oh, cool. There's a couple times when I actually saw it over at, what's its face? Myrtle Beach, when I went to Myrtle Beach. That was interesting. Let's take a look at severe weather chat. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, so there's a observation thing. They did not take a drops on, apparently. Surface winds 15 knots, so that's pretty weak. In the clear. Winds were obtained using Doppler radar and inertial system, so that makes sense. Jeez. Yeah, they did not take a drop sonde over here. Are they assuming that it's already drier than the Sahara? Are they just gonna assume that? Better not. Sheesh. Let's take a look at this buoy here, see what it's got. 23 knots as a wind gust, so that's interesting. Let's take a look at this other buoy as well. Dominant wave period 8 seconds. Significant wave height of 10 feet. Ouch. 10-foot waves. That's pretty crazy. 25 knot sustained winds from that buoy right there. 23 knot sustained winds. What about this buoy right here? 23 knots as well, so. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to see here. NAM is like the HWRF, but more drunk. Well, that's with tropical weather. For severe weather, it's pretty good. NAM 3K, I love using that, as well as the wrap and a little hint of the HRRR. TD8 coming out at 11, so yeah, there you go. I'd have to agree, honestly. I mean, it's very well organized. What's up with Tropical Depression Grace? Tropical Depression Grace at the moment is kind of encountering a lot of different things here. Let's see if I can go. Let's duplicate that and let's go over to, where is Grace here? Tropical Depression Grace. And there we go. We got our water vapor imagery of this. So you can see this thing has a general swirl here with this system. A general counterclockwise swirl. A lot of deep convection here. Earlier it was actually relatively weak. Had not really a closed off low pressure system earlier. Very disorganized for the most part. And that's the reason why it's now a tropical depression. But I think it might be intensifying again to a tropical storm here relatively soon. Whether or not the National Hurricane Center agrees, it's up to them. And they'd have to really look at it very closely. But very deep convection here within the system. And I would have to say that this thing probably is intensifying as we speak. Yeah, look at the wave height here. The water column height from that. That's very intense. But yeah, there's Grace, the satellite imagery. You can actually see ahead as to where it's, what it's doing and what it's all at. Now, if we were to track this thing out further, the interesting thing about Grace is that this will most likely head off into the Gulf of Mexico, somewhere in here, okay? Now, I know that's a giant area that I just drew, and you might be looking at me and saying, well, what type of weatherman are you? You're not giving me the exact area as to where this thing is heading off. What is that, you know? You're not helping me at all. And, you know, I would not blame you. I honestly would not. Convection means thunderstorm activity. Strong thunderstorm activity, I should say. I'll just say it's thunderstorm activity. Deep convection means strong thunderstorm activity. So just to answer that. But the thing of it is that with Grace, it's going to be heading off into Hispaniola, which is Haiti and the Dominican Republic, which pray for Haiti because it's going to be getting torrential downpours, exorbitant amounts of rain across the board, probably in upwards of almost a foot. And that's a lot of rain for an area that got smacked by a magnitude 7 earthquake. You know, most of the areas that are going to have no infrastructure is going to be getting a lot of flooding around there. And so I'll be making another video for you guys about Haiti tomorrow, as well as where Grace can go afterwards. But the thing of it is with these models is that they're actually saying that Grace could potentially move on through, head south of Cuba, and then head off to the Yucatan Peninsula. And then there's even some models that say it could even head off into Texas, maybe even into the Bay of Campeche. And that's according to the GFS. The Euro model, on the other hand, if we take a look at the Euro, actually takes it a bit further north of that. So it actually says that it'll ride along Cuba here. You can see how it goes along Cuba. And then there's some model runs that say it could head either to South Padre Island, some that could even head up to Houston, some that it can even head up into Louisiana as well. A lot of uncertainty here from the models, because if it can go through this land, all right, where will it end up? Will it go north of the landmass? Will it go south of the landmass? Will it not form at all? That's the big question that we have to try and answer here as this continues to progress. People said new advisory for Grace, and yeah, that just got issued 50 seconds ago. So let's take a look and see. Grace, what are you now? You're still a 35-mile-per-hour storm, and you actually increased a millibar. So your thing, it's not exactly. No, actually, it didn't increase a millibar. It stayed as a 1011 millibar system. It stayed west at 15 miles per hour. So it's still going about. Here's the cone. It's the 8 p.m. AST, so we're probably gonna have to wait for a new cone here in a second. Let's see if I can get this cone here for a before and after. So that'll be interesting there. I also real quickly want to see, where is this mission at? All right, so it hasn't really moved all too much. So something tells me that plane ride over to Grace is probably going to take more than just an hour or two. It probably won't even get to Grace until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And of course, we're not going to be live by then. We're going to be probably asleep. How is the Sasquatch app for weather usage? I honestly have no clue because I've never used the Sasquatch app. Never even heard of it. Gonna be completely honest with you. But yeah, that's interesting for Grace. 35-mile-per-hour storm still. You just got so much of that convection, though. It's kind of weird as to why they wouldn't amplify that. But I guess we don't have reconnaissance, so we can't exactly say it's moving on through. Don't have satellite imagery. Yeah, ASCATs are not recent, so that's unfortunate. But it is what it is. Is what it is, my friends. We have 311 followers on Twitch now. Thank you guys so much. 2,907 subscribers on YouTube. I really do appreciate that as well. Really do. As I said, we're going to be live streaming on two different platforms here. So we're going to be streaming on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, try and get as much information out as possible. So if you guys would follow both, that would be greatly appreciated. And I'll be trying to get some cool stuff for Twitch as well. So that if people actually do subscribe on Twitch, subscribing on Twitch and on YouTube is different, very different. It's for Twitch, you actually have to pay money to subscribe. So for Twitch, you should just say, give me a follow. But yeah. Give me a follow, please. Fred advisory. There we go. Let's see. Fred is now 50-mile-per-hour storm. Look at that. 999 millibars. It went below. So there you go. This thing is intensifying further and further. Reconnaissance aircraft finds a little stronger. Heavy rainfall. Dangerous storm surge expected along the coast of Florida Panhandle and Big Bend beginning Monday. And I would have to agree. I would have to agree that this thing is definitely going to continue to uptrend that way. 2,907. Did I really say 2,000 again? Sheesh. 12,000. 12,000. Point being is I appreciate you all. I really do. Use Radar Omega. It works. Oh yeah, I agree. Radar Omega is really nice. I like Radar Omega as well. Gets a lot of layouts here. Sunset, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. I really do appreciate it. It's basically a sponsorship. So, my goodness, thank you guys. Thank you so much for the sponsorship. I really do appreciate it. You get emotes. You get special perks. You get shout out in my live stream. So basically, what happens with that is that I'm going to switch over to my actual live streaming thing here. It's not exactly, it's not up to date right now, but whenever we do have landfalls for tropical systems, for hurricanes specifically, it'll be showing up on something like this. And so on the bottom screen that like switches on through, you'll have your name up there and it'll shout you out. So I really do appreciate that. By the way, you guys can adore my graphics again for whenever stuff gets really interesting. But we'll go back. We'll go back to the main screen. Not here. The other one. There we go. Perfect. But yeah, you get shout out in live streams. And yeah, it's basically just a courtesy sponsorship. So I really do appreciate it. I really do. What's the Big Bend? The Big Bend is this area of Florida right here. That's the Big Bend of Florida, where it just basically just curls off. Michael Laughwood with the $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate that. I really do. I really do appreciate all the stuff that people do for my channel. Trust me. Like, it doesn't go unnoticed. And all the stuff that I get from my stream and from my channel, so whether it's ad revenue from the videos that I create or stuff that I get from donations and stuff like that, goes right back into the channel. Whether it's, me storm chasing or it's, the content that you see in front of you, or even the graphics, all sorts of stuff right there. So I really do appreciate you all. Thank you. I know this is early, but do you think Central Florida will get a hurricane this year? I definitely think activity could be amplified over there, but to say that you're going to get a hurricane, I think might be a bit too ambitious. I could be wrong, of course. Weathermen typically are wrong, but I think it's a little bit ambitious. I think if you were to get stuff from a hurricane, it won't be directly impacted. I think you guys could get like outer bands and stuff like that. Yep, no problem, Red Zor. Thank you for coming out on Twitch. I really do appreciate it. As I said, you know, I appreciate all the people who come out on Twitch and watch me and follow me, because I do really want to start building that base over there. Which, if you do have an account on Twitch, please feel free to follow me over there. The link I just put in the chat. So thank you guys so much. Daytona is next to that Big Bend. You can see that. Yep, Daytona's on the opposite side over there. It's on the East Coast. But the Big Bend right here, this is anytime I mention the Big Bend, I really imply all the people who live on the coast of that Big Bend. So if you're on the opposite side on the East Coast, you guys are going to be fine. So from Melbourne and north up to Jacksonville, I think you guys are going to be okay. Grace looks like a doozy to predict. Oh, yeah. Fred was a doozy to predict, too, although I didn't exactly predict it. But yeah, there you go. Fred is a 50-mile-per-hour storm. Doesn't look like they're going to issue tropical depression advisories on Invest 96L at the moment. They would have done that by now. They would have updated that by now. But they still have 10 minutes, so, you know, still got plenty of time. Still got a plethora of time. National Weather Service Tallahassee meteorologist. Yeah, I'm gonna follow that dude. Let's go. I love following people who are got a lot of insight. That way I can even learn from them, because I know that I'm not exactly, you know, the smartest being in the weather community. You know, I like to say that I at least have some sort of sense as to what's going on, and I try to interpret it for other people. So, can you check the latest drops on? Yes, thank you for telling me there's a drops on. Oh my god. Thank you so much. Alrighty, here's the drops on data. They put this down at the southeastern side of the storm. So this is kind of in between the feeder band. Let's actually pull up Google Earth here real quickly. Look at Linda. She's pretty crazy. Alright, so there's Fred. And I'm not sure if they're going to be doing another pass into Fred here. But here's the drop zone that they took. Here's the center area of low pressure according to the National Hurricane Center and the Hurricane Hunters. You can see the swirling of all these clouds heading into this. A lot of dry air out on the western side, which is the reason why there's not a whole lot of clouds over here. But really interesting to say the least. There's the drop zone, and if we remember what we were talking about an hour ago, the reason why we look at drop zones is because we either A, look at the surface here and see how fast the winds are, or B, we look at the temperature for the temperature and dew points with height. So, down the Penn State Meteorology Program, you ain't no slouch. Well, you gotta remember, I actually transferred out of there to get my to another college to get my easier classes done, so that when I go back, I can just do straight up meteorology stuff. Because price is just very high over there. Price is very high in Penn State to get classes done, even if you live in Pennsylvania. So it's just one of those things to where if I can save money, then I'm going to. So where am I pulling the KML data from? I'm pulling it from this website right here. It's the live Recon in the tropical Atlantic. It's this website right here. And you can see you can pull it from the Google Earth right here. I'm going to actually put the link to this website. Link to this website in the chat here for any of you who want to follow along on Google Earth as well. So there's the Recon data. The actual satellite data in itself is different. That's a different website that I pulled it from. But the Recon data, I'm assuming, is the one that everyone wants to see. So, there you go. That's the one right there. And then I'm putting it in the Twitch chat as well, because of course, there you go. For any of you who want to keep up with that. And so there we go. Alrighty. Well, I don't think there's much more to say. Atlantic is so busy. Oh yeah, it's 100% of it. 100% is busy. It probably won't be after. It won't be. Yep, so it's forecasted to deplete in activity here. And I'll actually show you here. I'll show you my evidence behind this. So we're going to go over to Relevant Tropics, Climate Prediction Center. Here we go. So we got the empirical wave propagation and we got the climate forecast system up and running here. So we'll take a look at the empirical wave propagation here. And you can see that we have a bunch of greens, we have a bunch of oranges. And the green means there's a lot of rising motion in the atmosphere. Very favorable for tropical weather to uptick, if you will. The oranges and the reds is the opposite. Very unfavorable. And so as we get towards the end of August into the early parts of September, literally beginning of September, this model right here says that it starts to become a lot more unfavorable. And until you get towards the mid parts of September, so it'd be like the 18th to the 24th, that's when things start to kind of rise up again. And I'm kind of expecting that as well as that continues to move on through. And then take a look at the climate forecast system, CFS. You can see still bits and bobs of activity, even all the way until this would be the beginning of September, to which things start to deplete a little bit. But then once you start to get towards the beginning of the mid parts of September here, about the 13th to the 18th, that's when activity could start to increase again, according to this model run. So the big thing here is that activity in the Atlantic will most likely begin to deplete a little bit. Stuff will begin to deplete a little bit, and then it'll begin to uptick again once we get into, the peak of hurricane season, which will be in September. So there you go. That's the reasoning. Do we have any latest ASCAT stuff? Probably not. Nope. Doesn't look like it. Oh, yes, there is. New ASCAT. Let's go. This is Grace. So we got... It missed it. Oh, never mind. It didn't miss it. There we go. There we go. We got Grace. There we go. Here we go, boys and girls. And what this tells me is we have an elongated area of low pressure here. Elongated spin right here. You can see, look at this. Very elongated area. Most of these wind barbs are moving up into the storm like this and like this. But you only see the classic spin around here. So we don't have any westerlies that are actually closing off the low. So we don't have a closed low at the moment. We just have a lot of deep convection with winds and upwards of about tropical storm force. We have a couple wind barbs here that are actually saying 30 knots, which would be 35 miles per hour. But you could probably see in localized areas sustained winds of 40 miles per hour. So that's probably the reason why they're saying it's a tropical depression still, which could be the case. But would not be surprised if it tries to do so further. But yeah, we have an elongated area of low pressure right here, elongated area of spin, and we don't have enough areas to say this is officially closed. So that's the one thing that I'm seeing from this. But yep, we got there you go. It's your ASCAT satellite imagery right there. So that tells me a lot of things. First off, in regards, well, I actually told you what it means in the short term. On the long term, someone just texted me. There you go. Okay, never mind. On the long term, once it goes into Hispaniola, the main part of the convection here that's the strongest will eventually be heading off into the Dominican Republic, of course. This part will most likely be lagged behind, and this will probably, I think this will end up reforming on the southern end of Hispaniola. If not, the southern edge will be able to continue to push on through, and most of these storms will be left behind. So I think the option of this thing heading off towards the north, it's not over yet, but it's becoming more and more unlikely. Especially with this massive elongated area of spin. So if you continue to have this activity as it gets closer and closer to Hispaniola, this area will die off. But then this area could potentially continue to try and survive as this moves on through. So I think it could look something similar to this. Yeah, I think it'll take it south of Cuba. Just based off of me looking at that satellite imagery. It'll probably take it into Cuba or south of Cuba, and then it'll continue to move on through either to the Yucatan or into the Gulf of Mexico officially, which means that the likelihood for something in Texas and Louisiana is starting to increase as a landfall. And I think that actually is very plausible at this instance. So that'd be probably an interesting video for to add on for tomorrow. As I said, I'm going to be uploading a video tomorrow, probably late morning. But with that latest satellite imagery, that tells me a lot of things. Yeah. So the Cayman Islands here really need to watch out as well. I mean, it's not going to be like the strongest thing in the world once it gets to the Cayman Islands, but it could definitely start to strengthen a bit as it continues to move on through. Yeah, I think that's a bit more plausible. Mm. This is lemonade, by the way. I'm not drinking. Like, this is just lemonade. My fault for having a lemonade addiction. There we go. But yeah, that's my take on that satellite imagery. That ASCAT. I think that's about it for this evening. If you guys enjoy the live stream, please be sure to leave a like on it. Leaving a like, as I said, gets it out to more people, gets this information out to as many people as possible. So that would be greatly appreciated. Share this with friends and family and on social media, like Facebook and Twitter. You know, most people Most people who typically stay in place typically go on Facebook for their information. That and YouTube, of course, which is the reason why I'm on YouTube. But I'd greatly appreciate it if you guys would share it on those platforms. So Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe if you're new. All right, by the way, I upload videos. I'm going to be trying to upload videos every single day. But if not, I'm going to be trying to consistently do tropical updates at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Can't do it tomorrow or Tuesday because I got my side job. Got to attend a Zoom meeting from 7 to 10. And so it's just unfortunate that way. But yeah, that's practically it. Grace would have to turn north to hit Louisiana. Do I think it's possible? I don't think it even has to turn north to hit Louisiana. If it continues to head towards the general vicinity of Louisiana, it could hit Louisiana head on. So that's the reason why I'm saying Texas, Louisiana, need to watch out. Really need to do so. If you're on Twitch and you haven't followed me already, please be sure to follow me. All right, we're going to be trying to build this platform of Twitch as much as possible. And if you're on YouTube and you haven't followed me on Twitch already, link in the description down below. That is where you will find me. So that is going to be it. We have 12,909 subscribers, so I really do appreciate all the people who came out to the live stream today. And I will catch you guys most likely tomorrow morning, so peace out, everyone.